Okay. Good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Wednesday, the 10th day of June, 2020. This is a regular meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. In effort to adhere to social distancing protocols and best practices imposed by the city and state authorities, the City of Jersey City has canceled all public meetings and closed all non-essential services as of March 16, 2020 until further notice. As a result, this council meeting will be held virtually as a video conference with public access. We had a scheduled 6 p.m. start. The clock on my computer is showing 6:03 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Ridley.
Here.
Councilperson Prinzeri.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Here.
I'm here. Oh,
Councilperson Saleh, I'm sorry.
here.
We're just trying to get you on camera before we take your vote.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Councilperson Solomon.
Here.
Is Councilperson Robinson in the house yet? I don't believe so. Okay. Councilperson Lavaro, not here yet. Okay. Councilperson Rivera
Here.
and Council President Waterman.
Here.
Okay, we have seven council members in attendance at 6:03 p.m. May we kindly rise for a moment of silence, please?
Sean, I'm going to spell this first name.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
Petra. Last name Aviles. Aviles.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Please remain standing as we salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Alrighty. On behalf of City Council President Waterman, in accordance with the New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of City Hall, the first floor of City Hall, the amended annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2020, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Thursday, June 4th, 2020 at 12 p.m. To the Municipal Council, Mayor, Business Administrator, Corporation Council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Do we have any members? Okay, I see Councilperson Lavaro is here. I'll mark him present at 6:07 p.m. Is Councilperson Robinson here? Not yet? Okay. So now we have 8 members in attendance. All right, first order of business, if I may I have a motion to add items 3.8, which is an ordinance, city ordinance 20-047, an ordinance amending the boundaries of the Exchange Place Special Improvement District to remove block 13103, and item 10.41, which is a resolution declaring May 25th to be Black Lives Matter Day, which is resolution 20-404.
Motion.
I have a motion
Second.
made by Councilperson Rivera,
Second.
second by Councilperson Prinderi. On the motion to add items 3.8 and 10.41 to the agenda, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Prinderi,
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano,
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson is not here yet. Councilperson Lavaro.
I'm sorry, I had stepped away. What are we doing?
We are adding items 3.8 and 10.41 to the agenda. Item 3.8 is the ordinance amending the boundaries of the Exchange Place Special Improvement District. And item 10.41 is declaring May 25th to be Black Lives Matter Day.
Aye, I vote aye.
Councilperson Rivera
Aye.
and Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0 with Councilperson Robinson absent to add items 3.8 and 10.41 to the agenda. Okay, on to our first reading ordinances. I did receive an email, and I just want confirmation that it is the intention of Councilperson Solomon to withdraw item 3.1, City Ordinance 20-040. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's correct.
Okay. So I will not bother reading that into the record. I will skip over that one and go right to item 3.2, City Ordinance 20-041, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, Section 332-9, Stop Intersections, Multi-Way Stops at various intersections in wards E and F, and Article 3, Parking, Standing, and Stopping, Section 332-29.1.c, Electric Vehicle Charging Areas. Item 3.3, City Ordinance 20-042, an ordinance consenting to the transfer and assignment of the property and tax exemption held by 720-726 Bergen Avenue Urban Renewal LLC to 280 Fairmont Urban Renewal LLC pursuant to Section 9.1 of the financial agreement and NJSA 40A:20-22 of the long-term tax exemption law. Item 3.4, City Ordinance 20-043, an ordinance amending Chapter 254, Property Maintenance, Article 10, Property Used for Illegal Activities. Item 3.5, City Ordinance 20-044, an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City adopting amendments to the Land Development Ordinance, including the adoption of a flood overlay zone, F zone, and green area ratio, also known as GAR, and amendments to the definitions and checklists. Item 3.6, City Ordinance 20-045, an ordinance adopting the Traffic Control Manual 2020 edition and incorporating the safety regulations contained therein by reference into Chapter 296. Item 3.7, City Ordinance 20-046, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, and Stopping, amending Sections 332-22, No Parking at Any Time, 332.-23, No Stopping or Standing, Section 332-26, No Stopping or Standing Certain Hours, and Section 332-31, Parking Restrictions for Street Cleaning Purposes to accommodate protected bicycle lanes on various roadways. And the last first reading ordinance, which was the late item that the council has just approved to be placed on the agenda, item 3.8, City Ordinance 20-047, an ordinance amending the boundaries of the Exchange Place Special Improvement District to remove block 13103. So council members, I'm going to ask for an introductory vote on items 3.2 through 3.8.
Sean, Council President? Council President?
Yes.
With regard to 3.3, I just want to confirm with the business administrator, you are keeping this on the agenda?
Yeah, we are. We're leaving it on.
And currently, you didn't provide us the information from tax abatement compliance with regard to the applicant or the seller, or as well as any notices of violations of any other properties?
Yeah, as described, the applicant has no other property that they own in the city, so there are no violations there. Also, the existing abatement is in compliance.
But did you provide us with the documentation from tax abatement compliance?
I put it in an email. I'm not sure what else you want. Do you want them to email you directly?
I didn't see that in the email itself. Did anyone else receive that directly as a?
I responded to your email from last night, I believe, saying that they're in compliance.
I know you said they're in compliance, but I asked if there was a report or, which we've received in the past. This is not an unusual request.
Look, I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm just, there's no formal document that we produce necessarily that would say that in this case. But if you want, we can get something in writing. I don't know what else.
I say this respectfully, that's not accurate.
Okay.
Council has repeatedly received in the past compliance reports as it relates to tax abatement applications or other related business or a tax abatement applicant, and that I've requested in the past, and it's been furnished and provided in the past. And
if you want to send me a copy of what you've received, I can definitely repeat that for this here.
Okay.
Okay.
So that being said, I'd like to make a motion to remove item 3.3. I don't think, and I urge the council to, there's this applicant has a pre-existing tax abatement. There have been other abatements from the applicant, including the property on Bay Street, which is also known as Trump Building, Trump Plaza. And then there was no information provided about, and while they may not, the receiver of the property, the purchaser and transferee, there may be no tax abatements there. It was not clearly articulated whether they own other properties in Jersey City. I'm not familiar with them, but I'm not familiar with them or their ownership interests. And I think we shouldn't just allow this, and we haven't in the past allowed for things like this to go forward without clarification on these matters. So I'm going to make a motion to remove item 3.3 from the council agenda.
Ryan, didn't you say that they don't own any other property in the city of Jersey City?
They don't. There's a certification that's required under the long-term tax exemption law, and in the financial agreement, that requires the applicant to certify that they don't, and, you know, we have confirmed that.
Isn't it
That
the
they-
case
That the
Yeah.
applicant or the transferee?
The entity that will be assuming ownership.
Okay, what about the current property owner?
If they have other abatement,
If they have other properties and other abatements, whether they have abatements or not is not necessarily relevant. It's they're in compliance with our rules, our housing code, rent control regulations,
sure.
registrations and so forth.
Okay,
This is
We-
again
we
something that's
can-
been asked before.
we can look into that, but I'm not sure of the relevance or legal ability for the council to take that under consideration when you're evaluating this transfer here. And then I don't know if Nick or Peter are on the line, but I'm not sure we have legal standing to use that.
Nick is on the line.
Nick, Peter?
Go
Nick
ahead,
or
Nick.
Peter?
Council members, I am here.
Okay,
The thing to keep in mind for the council is that the requirements for transfer are all outlined for approval of sale in section 9.1. Those are the things that you can evaluate as part of whether you are going to vote for this or not. Going outside the scope of that is going to be problematic, because keep in mind the terms of the transfer language in the abatement agreement is understood and agreed that the city, on written application by the entity, will not unreasonably withhold its consent to sale of the project and the transfer of this agreement, provided that the 6, and actually it's only 5 in this case because the project is complete, provided those 5 requirements are met. The one thing that's relevant to what Councilman Lavarro says is number 3, which is the entity is not in default of this agreement or the law. When you start going into other projects not related to the 4 corners of this agreement, you start going outside of what the council really should be considering and whether you feel that is appropriate for this transfer. But please keep that in mind, that the language will not be unreasonably withheld. As long as the selling entity is in compliance with the terms of the agreement and the new entity is in compliance with the terms that it needs to be in compliance with, that's what the council's assent for that transfer should not be unreasonably withheld.
okay.
So that's the standard that you should be looking at in terms of evaluating whether you want to vote for this or not.
Okay.
And I would just add that this is, I mean, council people can search their own memories on this, but this is not the first time this has been raised, and it's been raised previously prior to 2017, prior to 2018, I should say, and even in the past 2 years. It's not a new request on any, whether it be related to tax abatements or transfers or authorizing tax settlement of taxes and so forth. These are the same questions that have been raised, and I'm not sure why we're going to great lengths to try to protect the applicant here in this case. But that being said, my motion still stands and request a second.
So can I just been, when I recall when we were discussing the termination of the abatements at in Hamilton House and the one on West Side Avenue, that the then director of tax abatement and compliance basically came and brought all the physical reports so that we could look through them to make sure that they had been filed on time, that they had met the hiring requirements, that they had done everything. And I don't recall in this case us getting those. Is that right?
Okay. I know what you're referring to now. Yeah, that was, okay. Yeah, so those are reports that we can definitely share. This is a different scenario in that was a termination of an abatement, and we were providing justification and documentation on why they were not in compliance. This is just a transfer, and all the terms of the abatement stay the same. So yeah, there was a difference in approach here. So we can definitely provide that.
Mhm.
And I'll just add to that if I may. I'm sorry, Councilman Solomon, did you still have more to say?
Well, no, I was just going to say, I'd rather, if we're not going to withdraw like the second, just to give us more time to actually review all those documents before moving forward. Shouldn't be too hard to provide, and then give us a couple weeks to review before it comes back to the agenda.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we could send tomorrow. We'll defer it. Look, we're not trying to tell the council how to vote here, but, you know, we can provide those documents tomorrow or Friday. That still gives you time in between first and second reading, but up to you on this.
Okay.
So I still have
Okay.
the motion out there.
So, look, I'm happy to second it.
Sean? Sean?
Oh, there's a motion to,
Sean, you are muted.
Sean, you're muted.
I got it. I'm sorry. I apologize. So we have a motion to remove item 3.3, City Ordinance 20-042 from the agenda, made by Councilperson Lavaro. I have a second by Councilperson Solomon.
Sean,
On
this
the
will come
motion, on the motion,
back in 2 weeks before you do it? Is that a definite?
If we introduce it, it comes back in 2 weeks either way.
All right,
So-
okay, all right. As long as it's coming back, because, you know, if they're in compliance, they're in compliance. All right.
okay. On a motion to remove item 3.3, City Ordinance 20-042 from the agenda by Councilperson Lavaro, seconded by Councilperson Solomon. Councilperson Ridley.
On the motion to remove, I'm going to vote no, but I'm voting no with the intentions that we will receive that documentation this week and can review it before the second reading.
Councilperson Prinzary.
I'm going to vote no, but again, this is, you know, predicated on the fact that we will be receiving these documents and can review the second read.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Look, I'll say no, going along with Mira and Denise said, but we better have all the documentation and evidence and everything within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Councilperson Saleh.
I'm gonna go with what Boggiano said and vote no.
Councilperson Solomon.
Sorry, I vote yes.
Councilperson Robertson is here.
No.
Thank you. Do you have access to a camera, Councilperson Robertson? I just wanted to make sure that you had your camera on as well.
My camera is on according to the.
There you go. We see you.
Or you can see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, yes, according to the camera, is definitely on. Thanks.
No problem. And you voted no on the motion?
No.
Okay. Councilperson Lavaro.
Yeah, just to clarify, and as far as the information that will come back to the council, just to make it clear, it's the tax abatement compliance reporting that Councilman Solomon referenced, that's been provided in the past, not just for the property in question, but for my purposes, and I know that the law department, but we've actually requested this in the past as a tax abatement applications themselves, with similar language and requirements, and as you said, compliance with the law, that the law on whatever properties that they have ownership interest in, whether it be tax abatements and others, that we request that tax abatement compliance for all of the properties, whether it be for the being ABR or the 720-726 Bergen Avenue Urban Renewal Entity LLC, or the transferee and purchaser of the property, which is 280 Fairmont LLC, and their various ownership interests, which they have multiple ones that are affiliated with that. So looking for information about all of that as it pertains to tax abatement compliance, and not simply the compliance of the tax abatement agreement itself, but we have laws on the books that pertain to the hiring and fair wages, as I raised before at the caucus meeting, as we had the example at the Beacon just recently, where a developer, and when standard wage compliance was not adhered to, recently terminated their essential workers, the maintenance workers and residential workers who worked in the building. And so we want to make sure that they have compliance with that component as well. Not just the tax abatement agreement itself, but the laws underneath which the tax abatement agreement apply to in New Jersey City's municipal code. In addition to redevelopment agreements, and if anything's written into site plan approvals or anything else that is out there that requires them to provide certain complete certain promises or obligations to the city of Jersey City and to the people of Jersey City. So it's my understanding and request that all of that be provided. I am voting yes to remove this from the agenda, and would urge us to scrutinize these very carefully and closely, because as we have seen, as we're doing our audits of tax abatements and other things of that nature, the compliance issue is certainly when we talk about the disparities that go on here in Jersey City, and the fact that these developers and corporate interests are not maintaining their promises to the people of Jersey City, we need to hold them accountable if we want to see equity.
Guevara,
Yes,
if you don't get the proper information, we have 2 weeks to knock it out the next meeting and it's over. I mean,
yeah,
simple as that. So they have to provide you and us with the proper information.
Can we keep on going with the vote, please?
Yes. Go ahead.
We ready?
Councilperson Rivera.
So council members, we have 58 speakers today. Let's be mindful of that. Let's make sure that we give them the proper respect so that they could all say something today. You know, I know that, you know, the times are a little crazy. So, you know, they have a lot to say today. So respectfully, if we can, you know, cut ourselves today, or if Council President, I know you do a great job at it, you know, just make sure that, you know, we cut ourselves off today and make sure that our constituents can speak. With that, I vote no.
And Council President Waterman.
No.
The motion to remove item 3.3 ordinance 20-042 from the agenda fails by a 2-7 vote. Voting in the affirmative are council members Solomon and Lavaro. With that, on items 3.2 through 3.8, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson Prince Airy.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye for introduction, and we better get all the information on that, what Rivera was talking about.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson Solomon. You're muted, Councilperson Solomon.
Aye for introduction.
Thank you. Councilperson Robinson.
Aye for introduction.
Councilperson Lavaro.
Yeah, just two statements before I cast my vote on item number 3.5. I'll just, in the interest of time, I'll point out to the viewing public that I made statements and remarks with regard to this at the caucus meeting, and I'll make public statements about that as well with regard to 3.5. But if you have interest in that, take a look at that as well. On 3.6, I'm going to ask the law department if Andrew Vicio, thank you, Mr. Vicio, for providing the memo with regard to traffic permits. I would like to speak with you about to the law department about not doing any changes to this particular ordinance as it's going to move forward, but to look at changing the sections of that were cited in that memo with regard to traffic permits and how all of that is enacted and ensuring that council approval is required for any sort of changes in the traffic patterns, unless it's under emergency situations. With that being said, I'm going to vote aye for introduction, except for 3.3, which I'm voting no.
So 3.3, you're voting no, and then aye on all the rest.
Correct.
Thank you. Councilperson Rivera. You're
Aye
muted.
for introduction,
There
aye
you go.
for introduction, and we'll be waiting for that information.
Thank you. Council President Waterman.
Aye for introduction.
Okay, item 3.2 is introduced 9-0. Item 3.3 is introduced 8-1, with Councilperson Lavaro voting no. Item 3.4 through 3.8 are introduced 9-0. Okay. Alrighty, on to our second reading ordinance, but before I read it into the record, I just want to reiterate what is on the live Q&A. If you wish to speak during the public hearing for the second reading ordinance, which we're about to start, or the public hearing on the Central Avenue assessment roll and budget, please use the Ask a Question button below. If you are viewing anonymously, you must provide your name. You must also provide a contact number and indicate the public hearing you wish to participate in. Thank you very much. With that being said, City Ordinance, item 4.1, City Ordinance 20-039, an ordinance adopting amendments to the mixed-use B zone of the Morris Canal redevelopment plan. This is a public hearing on this ordinance, and any member of the public wishing to be heard, and I know we have some speakers that are listed for this ordinance. So the first speaker I have listed, but before I say that, I just want to make sure that we'll have to get them on the phone. So the one I have listed is Alexa Lima.
No. Oh, are you fucking kidding me?
Whoa.
Whoa, whoa.
Somebody's on.
Mike
Well,
moment.
Somebody's on.
Yep, I had him muted. So June Jones is the actual speaker. Alexa chose not to speak. So June Jones is our speaker on the second reading ordinance. June, are you here? And if you're in the room, if you can please press *6 to unmute your phone. June Jones? I'm sorry, council members. We're having some technical difficulties. Just give me one more second, okay? trying to get June Jones back on the phone, ladies and gentlemen, and council members.
Hello?
June,
Yes, can you hear me?
we can hear you now. Okay.
Okay,
June-
so,
June, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
yes, hi, I'm June Jones. I'm with Morris Canal CDC and the Coalition here in Lafayette, Jersey City. I'm calling in to waive my support for the amendment on this project. It belongs to Mike Mecca. Mike Mecca has come to the neighborhood on 4 occasions to talk about this project, how it impacts the positives and the negatives. We've had a great dialogue to the point where he has actually made changes with recommendations from the community. I just wanted to speak in his on his project in the positive, because this is what we foster, this is what we look forward to when we deal with developers coming into our neighborhood. I know we can't get everything that we want, but the dialogue should certainly be there. And I think that conversation opens up the door for understanding where people come from, why they ask for what they ask for, and also understanding that some things can be unreasonable. I just want to say that this is an example of what I hope moving forward would be with all developers coming into the neighborhood. And I think that with all of the work that we have done in our community, working hard to set up the redevelopment plan, that it's important that the developers know that there should be some consensus and willingness to want to make the neighborhood better, not just come and build and make money. Okay, so with saying that, I want to say that we do support the project, and I hope that the council votes yes for this particular project. Before I close, I do want to apologize to the council, because I think at my last visit on March 26th, before the COVID happened, we had an incident there. And although my content of my message I am sincere about, I was not proud of my behavior. And I was just very upset because of what had happened. I look forward to continuing a good dialogue with the council, but I also want the council to understand that there are provisions, there are mechanisms that we put in place that we want to have happen continue to have happen in the future. With that, I bid you farewell. Thank you very much for giving me the time to speak, and I hope you vote yes for Mike Mecca's project. Thank you.
Thank you, June. Okay, this is still a public hearing on this ordinance. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, and I'm going to check the chat before we take a motion. Hello? Do we have a speaker on the air? Okay. So do we have any other members of the public wishing to be heard on ordinance 20-039, item 4.1? Going to give it a couple of seconds. If I don't hear or see any meeting chat, I am going to ask for a motion.
Motion.
Not seeing any, and I have a motion made by Councilperson Rivera. And I believe I heard a second for Councilperson Frenzeri. To close the public hearing on City Ordinance 20-039 by Councilperson Rivera, seconded by Councilperson Frenzeri. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Frenzeri.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson,
Aye.
Councilperson Lavaro,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman. You're muted.
Aye,
There
aye.
you go. Motion carries 9-0 to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 20-039 for final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 20-039. Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary,
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano,
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson,
Aye.
Councilperson Lavaro,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman.
Aye.
City Ordinance 20-039 is approved unanimously, 9-0. On to our public hearing on the Special Improvement District. Public hearing on the 2020-2021 Central Avenue Special Improvement District Assessment Roll and Budget. This is a public hearing on this assessment roll and budget for Central Avenue. Are there any members of the public wishing to be heard? And I will check our chat just to see. Okay, members of the public, I'm going to ask one more time. This is a public hearing on the 2020-2021 Central Avenue Special Improvement District Assessment Roll and Budget. This is a public hearing. Any member of the public wishing to be heard, please contact us on the live Q&A event with your name and your telephone number where we can call you, and we will contact you for your comments.
Move to previous question.
What was that, Councilperson Select?
I move to previous question. I motion to, vote on this.
Okay, so
I'll second it.
We have a motion to close the public hearing on the 2020-2021 Central Avenue Assessment Roll and Budget by Councilperson Saleh.
And I second.
And seconded by Councilperson Baggiano. On the motion to close the public hearing, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh,
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson,
Aye.
Councilperson Labarro,
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries 9-0 to close the public hearing on the Central Avenue Special Improvement District assessment roll and budget. Okay. Now we're moving on to our public request for a hearing. The first speaker I have is Yvonne.
Sean,
Yes,
Sean, I thought the Journal Square SID was up too.
no. The
No?
Journal Square SID is being introduced tonight.
Okay,
Introduced, and then it directs the
okay, all right, okay.
myself to advertise it and also the assessor to prepare the assessment roll.
all right, okay.
Okay, so our first public speaker is Yvonne Balser. Yvonne, if you're on the line, if you can press *6 to unmute your phone.
Yes, I did it already.
Oh, thank you, Yvonne. Okay, so we can hear you loud and clear. So we're going to start your timer. You're going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
At the last council meeting, I complained that the 2020 introduced budget was missing as well as other documents. Thanks, you heard me. The 2020 introduced budget is there, and the 2019 friendly budget is online. What is missing is the 2019 annual audit and the 2019 annual finance. I hope they are up soon, as well as a 2020 friendly budget. I am disappointed that the resolution to help Liberty Park to keep it free from privatization has been pulled. That park is used by many people in Jersey City, especially wards A and F, and I really expect a 9-0 vote when it's introduced. I am also against the resolution to have a vertical garden. That money of $1 million is being wasted. The city for years gave community groups land to grow community gardens. They work well, and they did not cost taxpayers $1 million. The fact that this ordinance suggests that the mayor wants us to eat well is somewhat ridiculous, considering the fact that the mayor is also pushing marijuana, which, in my opinion, does nothing good for your health. I also wanted to discuss the resolution on the refunding of tax appeals. I think it is the second one on resolutions. It's $64,000. I have been asking since last year on the amount of money of successful tax appeals, and I have not received anything. It's like you can't get information from the city, and I don't know why. I would like to know how much money we are going to go into debt that is rolled over all the time. That is, it should be actually on the city's website. I shouldn't even have to ask you. It should be listed right there, our debt. Finally, I noticed that there is a reduction of fees for property owners in terms of paying their taxes, and I have no problem with that. But then I remember what happened when you did the rent control ordinances and you reduced the amount of money landlords receive. And when I look at what the landlords is receiving and what property owners on small buildings have to pay, it's not equal. It's apparently we're going to do something for tenants in rent control buildings, but for people in the small 1 family, 2 family, 3 and 4, we're not getting them the same type of break. It's lower than it normally is, but it's still higher compared to other buildings. It's like some buildings, are treated better than others. And as a city, we should not be treating one group different from another group. That's the bottom line. So thank you very much. I'm hoping that the next time there's a meeting in 2 weeks, I will have all the information online. And also, you should have vacant lands for 2019 and 2020. What you have available on the city's website is vacant land for the year 2018, and that's 2 years old.
Thank you, Yvonne.
So that should be updated. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay. Council members, speakers 5.2 through 5.6 have refused to speak and may speak at a different meeting. The next speaker we're looking at is Ruth Adams, which is 5.7. Ruth, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Ruth, I can hear you loud and clear. So your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. In February 2019, the City Council unanimously voted to endorse the Liberty State Park Protection Act, sending a strong message of support to Trenton. I strongly encourage and implore the Council to continue with their support of this act as written. For years, I've heard about developers' attempts to privatize this beautiful park. The Protection Act will protect this free green space for generations to come. Over the last 2 years, proposals have been prepared to utilize Haven Point for a number of community-based programs. One such initiative is a nature-based PTSD therapy program. Many veterans returning from multiple deployments find it hard to transition from military to civilian life. The outbreak of COVID-19 further supports this essential need. This pandemic has had a major impact on healthcare workers and first responders, which can lead to depression and a feeling of not caring anymore. While physical wounds are noticeable and treatable, PTSD is invisible and treatment is complicated. Studies have shown people suffering from PTSD have reaped benefits from nature-based therapy. We have an opportunity right here in our backyard to help sufferers with a nature-based program devoid of prescription drugs. We have a social responsibility to support our first responders. The Haven Point environment will do just that. Another community-based program is the Hudson River Apiary Society's youth program, highlighting Haven Point as a fitting venue to conduct this initiative. The program goal is to expose underprivileged youth with business development training through the maintenance of honeybee hives. Lifelong benefits include learning personal responsibility, enhancing social skills, basic business practices, and opportunities. These skills are what they will carry with them through their adult life. The Society runs successful programs right now in New Jersey high schools and veterans organizations. Research shows that youth involved in learning how to start and run their own business tend to conduct career and educational aspirations they may never have been exposed to. So back to the Protection Act. Why do we need this? To protect the People's Park for future generations. Last year, one prominent elected official in Trenton, Berkeley, said, "Let the people decide." Well, they did. As of today, nearly 13,500 people have signed the online petition in support of the act. We, the people, decided, but apparently the sacred land is being targeted again by billionaires. Council members, please do the right thing. Support this legislation with your endorsement. Thank you for your time. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Okay, our next speaker listed there, 5.8. There was no answer, so we'll try to call back on Cheyenne. The next speaker we're looking to get on the line is Agnes D. Bethune. Agnes, are you there? If you're there, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Agnes, if you're there, you just have to press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself. Agnes, if you can hear me, please press star 6 on your phone to unmute yourself.
Let's move on.
She's actually there, and I can see her, and oh, we lost her. Okay, we can come back to her. Next speaker, David Chase. Just council members, we got to be patient. We're trying to get these the members of the public on the phone, and some of them are getting on the phone, but unfortunately, they're having trouble unmuting themselves, and I think they get frustrated and they wind up hanging up, and then we have to get them back on the phone. So I appreciate your patience.
Absolutely, their voice is important, you know?
Absolutely. So anyone that hung up and we have to come back to, I will definitely do that. I'll call their names before we actually close the public hearing. But I know I know that my staff is working hard out there trying to get the members back on the line.
Hello?
Agnes.
Yeah.
Okay, we can hear you
Hello?
now. All right, we hear you.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay. Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm going to start your time. Your time is going to
Thank
start
you.
in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi. My name is Agnes Stevens-Yoon, and I have lived in the Lafayette neighborhood next to Liberty State Park for several decades. I would like to know, just who does the Liberty National Golf Course think we are? A bunch of dupes and hicks who don't understand the value of real estate? I do not mean to sound harsh, but the owner, a Mr. Paul Fireman, who already owns or has access to plenty of adjacent property, somehow feels entitled to annex our public land at the Caven Point Peninsula in order to locate 3 holes at the water's edge for no other reason than the exclusive luxury of it. He is either prevaricating, delusional, or indulging in wishful thinking if he believes his golf course will ever contribute to the local economy. Have you seen the parade of cars fleeing onto exit 14 at the end of a tournament day? These people are not spreading out into the community to dine at restaurants or spend their money locally. They're getting out of Dodge by the quickest possible route. And furthermore, there's a whole other contingent who are ferried over on the launch from Manhattan or dropped in by helicopter. The fact remains, after a long history of hard use by industry, this land finally belongs to the people again. It is also a critically sensitive littoral zone that supports a variety of wildlife. The land they want to take is unique and irreplaceable. It is not underutilized, as has been claimed. It is a rare urban public natural area, the last remaining beachfront access for ordinary citizens, that is you and me, our neighbors and families. For the state to allow its sale or lease for a private for-profit concern owned by one of the largest landowners in the United States of America, look it up, in exchange for what amounts to pocket change in today's market is an obscenity. And I am offended by his offer when there remain so many more important issues of nature education, of the reemergence of habitat, inclusivity, the healing of old wounds, spiritual, psychic, and environmental. I guess this billionaire just said he could waltz in and do an end run around us by dangling the patronizingly inappropriate bauble of a completely redundant golf school so that he could fulfill his own personal and corporate ambitions. I say no to any transfer of the people's land at Caven Point to any private enterprise. The loss would simply be too great. That the park would benefit by more fiscal support goes without saying. We do need more amenities, programs, and accessibility, but at what cost and with whose input? Whatever glossy, impractical, and unrealizable promises that we may hear from the golf course proponents could never make up for the loss of this irreplaceable public asset that belongs to all of us. If these precious acres are handed over, the next generation is going to wonder how in heaven they were betrayed in this odious manner when they look over at the pesticide-laden greens off limits that were once theirs. The youth of our community deserves better than to be stripped of this natural resource. I urge you all to support the Liberty State Park Protection Act without any amendment or diminution, and thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you, Agnes. Okay, so we're going to try to get speaker on 5.8 back on the phone. We're making those calls. 513, there is no answer. We're going to try to call back on Alexa, Jasmine, and Sabrina, and Cheyenne. There's no answer on those speakers, so we are going to try to get them back on the phone. So the next speaker I have is Rafael Torres. Rafael, are you there?
Yes, I am. You hear me?
Yes, sir. Okay, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
I'd like to thank you guys for the opportunity, and I hope you are all safe. On top of this global event, we have challenges, and responding to our needs, we have to now show the world how Jersey City deals with racism and public safety in this most diverse city in the world. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you about keeping up the commitment. Our commitment in the past accomplishments must be brought up every 4 years in order to update and advise our leadership that there is a park that runs the length of 5 councilpersons out of 9 of you. That is Liberty State Park. This administration has been relentless in supporting the park, but unfortunately, that will never be enough as long as the citizens who protect the park have to fight off the developers who look at the prime real estate, the type of real estate that is golden, filled with natural and depleted infrastructure and underdeveloping open fields. You can fight one developer today, and you can bet that the next yacht that passes our shores will try to come up with a way to get a piece of it. Council, our citizens are delighted that this administration has supported this park. In fact, the last time I looked, 99.9% of all nonprofits and all of the community block associations have signed on to Liberty State Park Protection Plan. Also, cultural amnesia has set in with our state senators and representatives in Trenton who have been playing around with the fact that Cavern Point is not part of Liberty State Park. We must stop the expansion of the golf course into Cavern Point shores, which is the outer banks of our Liberty State Park. Call it what you want, but we already won that war, and the Liberty Golf Course is on private property south of Liberty State Park. Our state representatives have picked up on mixed messages that may have confused our city council with the need to give up whatever they have to in order to develop recreational opportunities like basketball fields and soccer. Unfortunately, the state never entertained these concepts in the past. We are happy that they are considering doing something to support our recreational needs. Representatives of Jersey City have always supported the success of the park by keeping it available to all our citizens. The city gave the land to the Liberty Science Center to support this concept, and you have supported the Friends of Liberty State Park for over 25 years. Without your support, we could not have protected it and would not be able to protect this most visited park in the United States.
They just sitting here. They just called me.
We had left the migration of birds rest on our park banks with our representation because it is what the birds have been doing since the beginning of time. Developing Cavern Point and forever change the character of the park, as well as open a floodgate of privileges to people who don't care to partake in our fields, like Mr. Fireman, who owns the Liberty Golf Course and numerous properties. please
Mr. Torres,
consider.
your time is up.
Yes. All right.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to just say, consider that resolution. Go all the way, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Torres.
You're welcome.
Okay. Our next speaker, Imani Hightower. Speaker 5.18. If you're on the line, please press star 6 to unmute your phone so we can hear you. Imani Hightower, last name Hightower. If you're on the line, please press star 6 on your phone to unmute your phone. I see that you're there and the mic is muted, and that's why we cannot hear you. If you're watching, you can please press star 6 to unmute your phone. Hightower, last name Hightower. Hello?
Hi, this is actually Luz Guzman.
I'm just gonna have to ask you to mute your phone because we're looking for Hightower, last name Hightower first. They were listed first.
Okay.
Sorry. Last name Hightower. Just need you to press star 6 to unmute your phone. Okay, I think we lost her. All right. We'll try to get them back on the line. Buzz, are you there? You just press star 6 to unmute your phone. I muted you, so I just need you to press star 6 to unmute your phone. Luz Guzman, we just heard you. If you could just press star 6 to unmute your phone. Luz Guzman. If you can press star 6 to unmute your phone, we'll be able to hear you. Luz Guzman, if you can press star 6 to unmute your phone. Okay, we have Hightower on the phone?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, how are you? Thank you. I was actually on and it wasn't allowing me to come into the call. I kept pressing star 6. So I just called back.
Okay, great. So your timer is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, all. My name is Imani Hightower. I am a resident of the Heights in Jersey City, born and raised. I recently have graduated college and just have come back. And currently, as a millennial with all the things
Hello?
going on, I'm currently. Hi. Do you
Hello?
hear me?
Hi.
Hello?
They didn't. Hightower's on. Yeah. No.
Hello?
Hi.
Sean, you're muted. This is Miss Hightower's speaking time.
Stop the time, please. Stop the time, the countdown. Okay, Luz, you were muted. I muted you because that we were trying to get Amari to speak, and now she's speaking. Hightower is speaking now. So as soon as she's done, we'll allow you to go.
Okay.
Okay?
Can I still be heard?
Absolutely. We just wanted to interrupt you, and I did not want to have your
Thank
time
you.
go down. I did not want to have your
Listen, I
time.
appreciate that.
Yeah. I did not want to have your time keep going as I was trying to explain that to Miss Guzman. I apologize.
Okay. No problem. Absolutely.
Okay, you can go.
Okay, so I just have 3 questions, and I do plan on reaching out to Mr. Youssef. As I said, I'm a Heights resident, but my first question for millennials my age, as being 25, I'm currently looking to purchase my first home. And unfortunately, as I would love to stay in Jersey City, it's unaffordable, and I haven't been able to find any grants or any money that is allocated towards millennials who are trying to get homes and get funding. I'm currently working with a program called NACA, and I just wanted to know, is there any programs? And if there are programs, why aren't they being told, and why don't everybody know about them, or it's being taken advantage of? Because I would love to stay in Jersey City. There's so many beautiful homes that are huge, and I kind of feel like instead of I love Jersey City so much for its diversity, which is hence why I want to be there and pursue my law education. And I feel like there's no way to get around, but towns such as Orange, East Orange, Newark, Patterson offer grant money for you to actually stay in the town. So I wanted to know about that. Another question that I wanted to address is when it comes to, like I said, I grew up in the Heights in 27 school, and I had so many opportunities to go to upward bound programs and summer programs that led me on full ride tuition scholarships. And I just want to know, like, if there's how much money are going towards extracurricular activities since COVID came, was that money set aside that there's going to be other programs that or incentives that we can have for the children in the Heights and other parts of the Jersey City area so that there's not mischief going on this summer? Unfortunately, several of my friends while I was away at school were a part of gun violence because there's either lack of money to afford any going away camp, sleepaway camp, any other programs. So I wanted to know about that. As well as I just wanted to know, especially in my area, how are we addressing the police brutality? Has there been any meetings? Has there been any type of council meetings with the city to let us know how we're going to move forward with all this turmoil going on in the United States right now, and how are we going to deal with it collectively in Jersey City and move forward? So those are my 3 questions. Like I said, I just wanted to be heard. I will reach out to you, Mr. Youssef, personally with my email. My name is Imani Hightower. I'm a paralegal, so I look forward to talking to you. And I thank you guys for your time, and I hope everybody's staying safe, okay?
I look forward to talking to you too. And if you want my phone number,
I appreciate it.
it's
I do. I have all your contact information.
okay, perfect. I've posted it up on Facebook, so thank you.
I got it from Instagram, actually.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Such a millennial. Awesome. Thank you so much. Everybody stay safe, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Next speaker is Luz Guzman. Luz?
Luz.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, your
Hello.
time. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, council members. I am going to wanted to speak about the resolution regarding the Police Advisory Committee. As the council members begin the process of selecting the members of this Police Advisory Committee, I urge the council to consider adding or replacing several of the members with those who are directly involved with the police department, aside from the retired police officer that they have listed, whether it's someone from the police union or the prosecutor's office, maybe even an attorney. I believe that for success, we need at least 1 or 2 persons currently working within the city's law enforcement ranks. As we struggle to instill trust, remember that it goes both ways. And when any organization strives to put together effective policies, they look to their own, that is current employees, supervisors, and of course the outside experts, which I notice is listed, but experts within that organization. The committee is now leaning towards one side, and understandably, George Floyd's death was murder, point blank, and atrocious act of police brutality. Everyone, including other police officers, know this to be true. With that said, we would like to structure policies that will withstand not only legal entanglements that will impede systematic racial incidents, but also to ensure the safety of our police officers who are there to combat crime. I do not envy those who have already volunteered to tackle this endeavor, and I hope they do, that they realize the gravity that these policies will have on the future of both residents and police officers. And I hope that if anything is accomplished through this committee, it is to reaffirm the fact that Jersey City Police Department has been implementing best practices. So with that said, I kind of wish best of luck to whoever becomes part of the Police Advisory Committee, and I hope that it builds on rather than encumbers those best practices that I believe that the police department is already doing. And with that said, I wish you a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Speaker 21 and 22, there were no answers on the phone. So we have speaker number 23, Kay Rowland.
Kwan Rowland, can you hear me?
Kwan? Okay, very good. You can hear us and we can hear you. Okay, Kwan. The time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
My name is Kwan Rowland. I was born and raised in the Greenville section of Jersey City. I'm appalled by how the city has been allocating funding over the last decade, and frankly, every single one of you should be as well. Let me start by saying I'm grateful that education is receiving 7 times the funding that the police department is. The issue, however, is that the police department receives 20 times the funding of health and human services, 10 times the combined budget of building, street, and park maintenance, over 60 times the budget of neighborhood improvement, and infinitely more than recreation right now, because apparently none of you thought that recreation was important enough to propose a budget for this year. Much like our nation's history of systemic discrimination and oppression, this budget issue is nothing new. Looking back to 2006, the proportions remain constant. And although most of the sectors I mentioned have seen their ups and downs, the police department has been receiving more and more funding year after year. This is by no means a complete condemnation or a call for the total disbandment of the JCPD. Some of my friends and classmates from throughout my childhood proudly wear the uniform today, and I would never try to take the food off of their plate. This is, however, a wake-up call to each and every person listening right now, and specifically Mayor Fulop. Although Stephen may have said earlier that he does not support taking away funds from the JCPD, I know he will soon come to realize that, although that stance may seem right now, it will effectively end his political career in the future. Jersey City has the privilege of being the most diverse city in the country, and with that comes a small level of insulation from discrimination and prejudice faced by people in less diverse areas of our country. This small level of insulation, however, does not completely shield us from the cops who claim to not see people in black and white, but instead see the world as blue versus everybody else. Sure, since Stephen took office, the crime rate in Jersey has steadily declined, while the number of police officers in the force has increased. However, the claim there is a causation would be intellectually dishonest. The crime rate has been decreasing statewide and nationally, despite most other cities not taking these steps. Let's go back to the numbers for a second. There are roughly 1,000 officers wearing a JCPD badge. Although my tax dollars fund their paycheck, there's no way for me to find exactly how much each of them are being paid. Instead, I had to use information provided by former officers online, which placed the high end of the average salary at $70,000 a year. That should translate to a salary budget of $70 million, give or take maybe $10 million for higher ranking officers. Even with the most generous estimates, that leaves about $20 million allocated to JCPD salary unaccounted for. Where does it go? The people need to know where our money is going, how much of it, for what, and to who. That way we can know what needs to be reallocated and where it needs to go. This leads me directly to my next point. In 2016, about $86 million has been allocated to the Office of the Director of Public Works under the category of other expenses. To be specific, the office received $15 million in 2016, $20 million in 2017, another $20 million in 2018, another $20 million in 2019, and the proposed budget for 2020 allocates them $11 million for other expenses. The amount of funding the department receives should reflect its importance to the community. What is so important about the other expenses for the Director of Public Works that those expenses would completely eclipse our budget for public health, human services, recreation, maintenance, and improvement? I demand an answer from Allison Swassey, Jeffrey Dublin, and Hector Ortiz on that. I ask the City Council to take another look at this year's budget and ask yourself, what matters to you and your constituents? Ms. Amani Hassan, our fellow law student, gave you a few hints earlier. Take them to heart. If the answer does not align with the proposed budget, change it. If it does, we will proudly vote you out. Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rowland. Okay, our next speaker, Tredell Ward.
That's the problem. When I take my mute off, it takes the...
Hello?
Tredell Ward.
Hello, can I be heard?
We can hear you. Your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I wanted to speak on Resolution 10-10, formation of the Police Accountability Committee. I think Jersey City is in a unique position of being voted the most ethno-diverse city in 2017, 18, and 20, and in second place in 2019. And we have the opportunity to display tremendous leadership from our council and any members of the formation of this council and the population of our communities. This action of proactivity rather than reactivity, even though there haven't been any widely displayed or reported instances of police brutality or racial discrimination and systemic racism that you might consider or might deny, depending on your personal experiences and beliefs. But we can see this opportunity to lead, and that's what I implore the members of this council and our communities to demonstrate, which is exemplary leadership and being a leading, diverse municipality for all. The other question I have is, in the formation of this council and pulling on the input of the police unions and PBO, is trying to understand, and this is something that I'm not aware of, but I would ask you to think amongst yourselves, is those that might be more informed than I am, is if they are included and have a significant amount of input, is who is holding themselves accountable as a police force? You know, who's policing the police, so to speak, within the right bounds and boundaries of what that entails. There are times when, for example, in large corporations in the world of business, also in sports administration, when certain establishments are allowed to police themselves and self-report, that can lead to a breakdown and crumbling of those same pillars of accountability. And I think that's what all the people are asking for, is accountability and responsibility to uphold and protect the citizens that they pledge to do so. That's generally what I wanted to say. I'll yield the rest of my time. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and best of luck.
Thank you so much. Okay, our next speaker is Trevor. Are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Trevor, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening. Jersey City must take serious measures to consider reforms that go beyond fixing the current system of policing. To this end, I have been both encouraged by and disappointed in some of the responses from our city and county officials in the past few weeks since George Floyd's murder. I wrote an email to my representative, Ward C. Councilman Vogiano, last Friday, which has gone unanswered, calling on him to support Council President Waterman's proposed ad hoc committee on policing and to acknowledge the issue of police brutality in our city. I then listened in on Monday night's caucus meeting, but all that Councilman Bogiano did was critique Resolution 2373 for not explicitly involving the police unions. We must recognize that the current system of policing in America is broken, and Jersey City is not an exception. Council President Waterman was quoted in the NewJersey.com article yesterday, seeking more information as to what activists mean when we say defund the police. Here's my interpretation of what this boils down to for Jersey City. Defund the police means putting our money where our mouth is. Kawan Rowland just gave a comprehensive review of the ridiculously large budget allocated towards police department salaries. We must take action to put a greater emphasis and provide funding for community programs that can maintain public safety while reducing the need for traditional policing. Camden, New Jersey disbanded the city's police force and replaced it, bringing up funding to invest in education reform and workplace development programs. Along with other reforms in policing, these changes have been credited with significant reductions in crime and a 95% reduction in complaints of excessive force. We must also continue to say no to outlandish budget requests for equipment that will perpetuate violence from the police. We must say no to these requests as forcefully as this community said no to Hudson County Sheriff Schillery's $26,000 request for riot gear earlier this week. His request cited the more frequent protests and potential for unruly crowds. In the past few weeks, protests in Hudson County have remained largely peaceful. The least we can do today is to expand the scope of Council President Waterman's proposed committee to consider reforms outside of just policy and procedural changes within the Jersey City Police Department. Jersey City must also begin the process of extending the powers of the existing Public Citizen Advisory Board, which started in 2019, to become more like a CCRB, regardless of what happens in the New Jersey Supreme Court. We need to work together to hold police officers accountable, fund programs that will reduce the need for policing, and end the death of innocent Black, Indigenous, and persons of color at the hands of police officers. Council President Waterman was quoted by NewJersey.com saying that she wants to see the plan. We need to work together to make the right plan for Jersey City, and we need to execute it swiftly. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Lana McCree. Lana? Are you on the line, Lana?
Yes. Yeah, I'm online.
Okay, very good. Your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, hi, my name is Lana McCrae. I am an attorney. I live in the Heights in Ward B. As an attorney, I believe strongly in the Constitution of the United States, and I've been disgusted by the use of rubber bullets and pepper spray against peaceful protesters throughout the country in the past few weeks. I wanted to express my support for the Black Lives Matter movement and all the protests against police use of force, and say that while the use of rubber bullets and pepper spray has become normalized, its use against peaceful protesters is un-American, it's unpatriotic, it's unconstitutional, and it's shameful. And I think that this practice of wantonly spraying peaceful protesters and groups of people with pepper spray should be banned in this city. There was recently news reports of several young people dying from the use of pepper spray, and I recently also learned that it's an abortifacient, meaning it induces abortions. This is not something that should be sprayed willy-nilly into groups of people, particularly people who are exercising their First Amendment rights. I also recently saw the news reports about the Hudson County Sheriff's Office requesting funding for riot gear, including tear gas, non-lethal rounds, and riot control grenades. So this issue is pressing, and I urge the City Council to consider banning the use of this excessively forceful and dangerous material against peaceful protesters, particularly when in our city we've had very peaceful and orderly protests, people expressing very valid outrage against police brutality. I also believe that Jersey City could be a leader in transitioning to a community-based model of public safety and away from the use of force. It's high time that we reconsider the role of police in our society, and I echo Mr. Rowland's eloquent criticism of the Jersey City's budget and its disproportionate emphasis on policing to the detriment of our public health works. I'd also say that I support the decriminalization of use of all drugs. Drug abuse should be treated as a public health issue. It is not through criminalization. I want to echo the support for the Liberty State Park Protection Act, which I believe it was Mr. Torres who eloquently set out the importance of our precious park as a resource for our city. And I also support the Aero Farms initiative, the vertical farming initiative, but oppose the means testing. It's patronizing and wrong to test people who want free food for whether or not they're maintaining education about food. And I'd also like to just thank you all for your service to our city, and I pray that you stay safe, especially after the loss of our councilman in Ward D. Thank you.
Thank you, Lana.
Lana, if you could email me, please, ysoleil@jcnj.org. I'd love to talk to you.
If she already hung up, I think she might have, Councilperson Soleil. We'll provide you with her contact information.
Thank you so much, Sean. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Okay, our next speaker, Dow David Williams.
Yes, right here.
Okay, Mr. Williams, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, as mentioned, my name is Dow David Williams. I've been a resident of Jersey City for over 7 decades, and I've seen a number of things in Jersey City that needs improvement, especially around police safety or community safety. I think we need to look at what the Congressional Black Congress has just recently laid out as some points to start with. I think a community review board an independent community review board is necessary. And I think that all those in good faith would want to rid any police force of bad apples, so to speak, or those that are troubling, and because they make the police force itself look bad. So if you're a good cop, you would want those type of policemen out of the ranks, and that they don't need to be in a community because they're acting more like occupational forces. Also, I would like to ask the council, how many Jersey City policemen actually live in Jersey City? Because I think there's a difference there as well, that if we have policemen that live here, there would be a different attitude as well, and not as much as like an occupational force, and more like guardians of the community. I remember Glenn Cunningham and Johnny Bell, Captain Bell, and Charlie Jackson, Bill Breaker. All of them lived in the Jersey City community. All of them lived in the Black community and knew the community, and the community knew them. I think that's what makes for a much better police force, when you know those that are patrolling your neighborhood, and you could build up the confidence to eliminate the wrongdoings, that people would have more faith and confidence in police if they know they're on their side, and they're not just coming in to make a paycheck and then run back out to some other town and treat the Jersey City, or especially the Black community, as like enemies of the people, which should not be the case. So we need good policing. Also, probably look at the redistribution of funds that could go to social services, that perhaps would be better in some areas than having police take care of that. So anyway, that's just a few things in this critical issue that's upon us, and what is taking place in Minneapolis.
Your time is up. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. Take care now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, our next speaker is Jean Daly. Jean, can you hear
Yes,
me?
I'm here.
Okay, very
I
good.
can hear you. What about you? Okay.
Yes, we can
Can
hear
you give me
you.
the 3, 2, 1?
Yep, I'm going to give you that 3, 2, 1 count. All right. Your
All right,
start
sounds
time
good.
is going down to 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, okay, I'm ready. Off to the races. I do have a couple of things I'd like to cover, but I don't know if I'll be able to make it to all of them. I think the most important thing that I'm speaking to tonight is the vertical farms and the $1 million investment. I'm very reluctant about that, especially with the fact that the participants have to subject themselves to health, physicals, health. There's such an invasion upon the health of citizens, or residents rather, who want to participate in this. So you have to go on to, like, you're like a lab rat or a guinea pig in order to participate in the program. I think that is completely unfair. I think we should not be selling our personal information of our residents. And I think it's disgraceful. I'd also like to say that we didn't get one other single request for a bid reply. Now, typically, if you don't get another reply, you would reach out to another company. I do know the administration is very close with Aero Farms, have been familiar with them, but there's also Bowery Farms in Kearney. Does the exact same thing. No one ever looked for a bid from them. Additionally, the bid is old, and by New Jersey law, apparently, it's a dead bid. Regardless of that matter, I'm very concerned about the selling of our health of our people. I think that's really, really sad. But I also want to say that the only thing that Aero Farms does is they produce baby lettuces. That's it. Now, our city needs to fund our community gardens, because in a community garden, having a massive garden and apple trees and peach trees and plum trees, whatever it was, I know what you can get from the garden. You can get fresh peas from a garden. Just pick them off and eat them. You're hungry, eat them. You can get, cucumbers, squash, all sorts of Brussels sprouts. I hated them at the time. The different colored tomatoes, the peppers, zucchini, strawberries, all these types of things. Okra. Been trying to grow that and unsuccessful. All the sort of greens, collards, kale, and stuff cannot be grown via Aero Farm. I think we're doing ourselves a disservice. This money could be better spent in different ways. I think we should get more bids. There are companies that make other type of freestanding units that are more attractive. They do not have the open exposed water that is shown in the only sample that Aero Farms has done as an installation, which is in Phillips Academy Charter School in Newark. If you look at the images, there is standing water. I do not want that standing water in the Bethune Center. It is really, really negligent. So I wish that we could postpone this, get some other type of bids, take our time with this, and see what our community needs. No, I appreciate it. I have 4 seconds according to my clock. I appreciate we need to look at what our community needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker, Stanley Smith. You on the phone, Stanley?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Okay, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Wonderful. Thank you for allowing me to speak at this city council meeting. Again, my name is Stanley Smith. I've been a Jersey City resident for just over a year now, having been a transplant from New York City and prior to that, Boston as my home base. So I'm a proud Jersey City resident. I got married here at Liberty State Park just over 4 years ago, and now live here with my wife and our 4-week-old baby girl. As a Black man and raising a Black girl here in the city, I would like to see our values very much represented in the city budget. And that certainly is a piece of that is with the police budget, as well as in general the other pieces of this city budget. For me, I've been doing a lot of thinking and speaking with other residents as well as folks across the country on what can be done for police reform. I've put together 8 specific demands that I'd like to go into the records of this city council meeting. Number 1 is that law enforcement must be accountable for using excessive force. Number 2 is to have at least 75% of the police officers residing in the community they are held to protect and serve. Number 3 is implementing community policing models. Making sure that the police officers are getting out of their cars and walking the beat, as they say. We're getting to know our police officers are getting to know the residents, as the gentleman who has been here for over 7 decades mentioned. I feel like that's very important. I've encountered police where they speak to me over their megaphone within their car. I find that disrespectful and inhumane, and they should get out of their car when they want to address a civilian. Number 4, I'd like to institute a civilian oversight committee of the senior management of the police department. Number 5 is more police de-escalation training. I have come to find, at least in other cities, fellow friends who are police officers have told me that they might do 2 or 3 hours of de-escalation training, but many days of firearm training, and we need to realign our values in the de-escalation side. As well, increase mental health support for our law enforcement, as they do have a very difficult job and need mental training around that. Number 7 is to hire and promote officers through a process that measures social emotional aptitude. And number 8 is a personnel reduction of the police department and reallocating those funds towards education and, again, other values that we want to see in our society and in our city. Again, just thank you for your time, and I will end there.
Clerk, you're muted.
Okay, sorry about that. Ms. Maples, are you on the line? Akasha?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. All right, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hold on. There's like a automated, hold on.
Stop the time, please. Stop the time.
I pressed *6 and then an automated voice came in. Now I can hear you again.
Can you hear it? Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to restart your time. Okay?
Oh, okay.
We're going in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, Council. My name is Akasha Maples. I am a Jersey City native, born and raised. I'm a current Ward B resident. I'm the niece of the late Francis O. Thompson and a member of the Solidarity Jersey City Coalition. And I'm also tonight's representative for the Black Men United Coalition. I come to you today to amplify the people's call to defund the JCPD and demilitarize our communities in response to Resolution 20-373. In a recent interview, Mayor Phillips said that reducing the police department's $111 million budget would mean laying off newer officers who have helped to diversify the city's police force. Quite frankly, millions were laid off to COVID-19, and this is not the community's problem. That is an issue that our elected officials have been elected to solve. If the city was truly concerned about this, they could invest in supporting these newly hired policemen in a career pivot and train them to be the social workers that we will need once we defund the police and reappropriate the funds into caring for our communities. Since Philip took office in 2013, approximately 70% of new police hires have been minorities, but this means nothing to us. Just like the ad hoc committee, this is merely another Band-Aid to a symptom of the issue. Jersey City citizens do not want Band-Aids to treat systems of systemic issues. We want to pluck the issues of white supremacy from their roots, starting with divestment in JCPD. Police forces have a deep history and origin of being inherently racist institutions, and frankly, we do not need them, especially in the militarized way that they occupy our communities now, which brings me to my next point. We must demilitarize JCPD, starting in Black and Brown communities and starting with the immediate and unanimous rejection of the requested $60K in funding to the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office for unitemized spending with Atlantic Tactical. Since 1994, the JCPD has received approximately $80,000 worth of military surplus equipment for free through the 1033 program. The police is not the National Guard. Alexander Shalom, senior staff attorney for the American Civil Liberties Union in Newark, New Jersey, said it best. If we arm our police officers to respond to war zones, then they start to treat our community like war zones. Even Passaic County Sheriff Birdnick echoed, saying, "Our communities are not a battlefield." Furthermore, myself, Black Men United Coalition, and the Black community of Jersey City are growing increasingly dissatisfied with Jersey City police officers and law enforcement relations within our community. It is apparent that Jersey City law enforcement for years has overtly shown that they are unwilling and incapable of protecting and serving Black bodies in this city. Therefore, Black Men United Coalition supports and advocates for the defunding and demilitarization of JCPD, and we demand the following: the immediate firing of all police officers who have used excessive force in any incident within our communities, the immediate release of all body cam footage, officer disciplinary history records, and internal affairs complaints, the immediate elimination of Fraternal Order of Police Union secrecy in a way that makes all operations and negotiations publicly and easily accessible to the public, financial compensation to victims of police brutality, misconduct, and accidents, and finally, the defunding and demilitarization of JCPD with the intent to allocate the resources to the proposed public safety initiatives and further restorative community programs and resources. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, I was muted. I apologize. The speakers that were listed prior, we're trying to get them back on the line. So as we move on, we're going to keep moving forward. So the next speaker, Marcia did not want to speak. Melanie and Andrew, Melanie, we couldn't get on the line. Andrew is on the line, I believe. Andrew?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, Andrew, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, and thank you, City Council, for allowing me to speak.
So as we move on, we're going to keep moving stop forward. The time. So the next speaker, stop the time. Marcia, hold on, Andrew. Melanie and Andrew. Melanie, we couldn't get on the line. Andrew is on the line, I believe. Andrew, are you by your computer? Yes. Okay, Andrew, your time is going to start.
Am I by my computer? Yes.
Yes. 2, 1, go. Are you by your computer? If you are, you have to turn your computer sound down because that's where we're hearing it. Okay, very good. We're gonna restart your time, okay? Because I didn't want you to get interrupted or you not being able to understand you, okay?
Okay.
All right. Your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, and thank you, City Council, for allowing me to speak. My name is Andrew Jong, and I'm a resident of Ward F and a member of Solidarity Jersey City. To begin, I'd like to thank Councilwoman Waterman for her proposal to form an ad hoc police committee and efforts of the city government to address the issue of police brutality. However, in light of recent and past events, I feel like this is not enough and urge the city to push harder on this issue, to create a civilian review board with teeth and to seriously consider steps to defund JCPD and rethink public safety. The popular solution to police brutality is through reform, passing laws, prohibiting certain methods of force, and to fund more police training. Many of these reforms, such as banning chokeholds and requiring de-escalation, were put in place by other cities to little success. Minneapolis has passed most of these reforms, and George Floyd was still murdered. Reforms do nothing to hold police officers accountable when they break those rules. In a recent article, Councilwoman Waterman is quoted as wanting to see a plan. I think we should be looking at crime reports and using this data to gain a better understanding of why crimes are being committed. Unfortunately, CompStat was ended a few years ago, but even then, crimes were documented only by the type of crime and the weapon used, nothing about why the crime was committed. What are the conditions of society that are leading people to commit robberies, assaults? There is insufficient data to inform us on this. Because we are obsessed with this idea that policing and the threat of violence are the only ways to promote public safety, all we do is throw more money at the police and hope they'll scare people into not committing crime. There's a cop stationed outside of the Garfield Ave light rail all day. How many tens of thousands of dollars is spent on that guy because we criminalize fare beating? Why not invest in free public transit, which would do more for the community and won't further contribute to the prison industrial complex? One way to defund is to immediately fire any officers with excessive force complaints. In 2016, JCPD officer M.D. Khan assaulted his brother-in-law. He was suspended for 40 days and was put back in the street. A year later, Khan ended up killing an innocent bystander, 28-year-old Miguel Feliz, during a car chase. The presence of police did not make the community safer for Miguel Feliz. 17% of the municipal budget goes to police salaries and wages alone. I brought this fact up to Mayor Fulop's attention at the June 1st protest. He said, yes, this is in line with the rest of the state. And I said, yes, that's too damn high. Stop hiring more police officers. Make police contract negotiations public. Cut funding for JCPD public relations. Stop using taxpayer money for police settlements. Reject any new municipal budget that increases the police budget. These are tangible steps that the city can take to defund JCPD without compromising public safety. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. The next speaker, we're going to have Daniel Santiago. Daniel, are you there? Daniel? Daniel, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, Daniel, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, council members, for allowing me to speak today. I'm Daniel Santiago, also known as Mr. Daniel to the kids I've worked with and I've taught. I'm an educator and I organize with Solidarity Jersey City. With all that is going on in this world, I want to praise the youth on taking lead and charge in this issue, bringing us all into a space of imagination. We've seen youth across the globe, across this nation, and even in our own city taking lead, many of them calling to defund the police. As adults, we sometimes forget to imagine, we get stuck in our ways and work with systems that are provided to us, even if they are not necessarily made for us. In this time of COVID, we've seen jobs lost, houses foreclosed, and racial tensions high. Many of us want to go back to the systems that have helped fuel this situation. The world we knew before COVID is no longer the same. It is our time now to choose whether or not we go back to how broken things were, or start to imagine again like the youth and think beyond the institutions we've created so far. Even if they are not necessarily made for us. Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello? Hi, yes.
Hold on. Okay, stop the time, please. Okay, so if we have a speaker on hold, Daniel, hold on 1 second. Nicole, are you on hold?
Yes, I'm on hold.
Okay, if we would just ask you to just not speak at this point until we call your name. I don't want to mute you because our unmute button is not working. So if you would.
Okay, I'll mute myself.
Very good. Thank you so much. Daniel, you're going to start back in 3, 2, 1, go.
So yeah, like it is our time now to choose whether or not we go back to how broke things were, or start to imagine again like the youth and think beyond the institutions we've created so far. So when they lead with defund the police, it also means reinvesting in our communities and uprooting the root causes of why crime exists. Those roots being poverty, lack of access to good education, job training, and resources for survival. Other Jersey City teachers and community members in our coalition have weighed in and agreed investing in youth is not, like JCPD program suggests, an activity day with the cops in the park. we need to look at the larger broken education system in JC due to lack of funding and classism. Just recently, JC public schools almost shut down with massive staff layoffs. Last fall, NJC almost shut down A. Harry Morris School, the only special needs school serving youth and adults in the city, and even battle for funding between schools that favor some over others. Finally, as a teacher, I know addressing my kids' socio-emotional needs with punishment like policing is not the answer. If one of my kids is having a manic or depressive episode, I'd rather see them met with a mental health professional rather than someone with a gun. If one of my students gets caught up in abusing drugs, I'd rather see someone who specializes in counseling to meet with rather than criminalizing them. If one of my kids was in a fight with another kid, I'd rather have someone trusted to de-escalate the situation and to intervene instead of an officer who may escalate the situation. We don't want any child to be put into a cycle of perpetual punishment, but find a way of justice that is both restorative and transformative. Some schools and individual teachers are implementing these practices already in the classroom. A larger structure should take the lead from educators and youth. Defunding the police only sounds radical and impossible until we acknowledge that school funding has been cut for decades. We need to reverse this trend, defund the police, and reinvest in our future and our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Nicole?
Hi, I'm here.
Very good. Okay, Nicole, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, I'm Nicole Cagnetti, an educator of 6 years and a Jersey City educator for 3, as well as an organizer with Solidarity Jersey City Coalition. I'll be speaking with and on behalf of one of our members, Malika Beiruz, regarding the ad hoc committee to review JCPD policies. So first of all, the formation of this committee is not nearly enough, and it's unimaginative. We don't want the city, this council, or the mayor to rush to patting themselves on the back for its creation. The text of your resolution is vague and only focuses on maybe reforming the police department based on a committee with no real power. We need a community review board. Last Saturday, 4,000 of us came out to support Black Diaspora Club. We didn't stand on the steps of City Hall asking for reform. We asked to defund JCPD. The resolution text makes it clear that no one was listening to 4,000 Jersey City community members, nor the youth, nor the BLM movement's calls. While in office, Mayor Fulop has been on a cop hiring spree, a one-size-fits-all solution to heal our city's issues of violence and crime. This kind of policing strategy is 1, decades old, and 2, fails to involve the community in our own safety and salvation. There is precedence for a model of community-based security and violence interruption. One example is the Cure of Violence method, which is based out of community centers, and it's already operating in multiple municipalities nationwide. In this model, community members with relationships to people in their neighborhood are hired and trained to be violence interrupters and to help de-escalate conflicts without calling for police. De-escalation is a form of conflict resolution that focuses on reducing harm. The police often do the exact opposite, as we saw in May, as police beat down one of our residents on Bostwick Avenue. We pretend to be an incredibly progressive city when it comes to simple things like vertical farms, but we actually need the city to step up and think outside of the box regarding community self-policing. Also, the residents of Jersey City have potential for greater self-governance. We have no official forums outside of city council meetings to hear community concerns, and in a week where we want to have our voices heard, we're watching council members listen to 58 residents speak, often only to be ignored as you vote how you wish. Investing in the community means empowering us to have a real say in how the city conducts itself. Racism is endemic, and if residents don't show up to meetings and engage in political process, it's because we've been disenfranchised and have had our voices disregarded for decades before this. We can't place our diversity on postcards as a selling point for this city. It has to be real. Power to the people means actually giving power back to the people. So really right now, we have the chance to make Jersey City an example for the rest of the nation. So Jersey City and our community urge you to listen to BLM's nationwide and local demands and to defund the police. We have enough collective professional experience as a community to take care of each other and greater imagination than the leaders of the last few decades of failed reform. Trust the people, defund the police, and allow local organizations already leading the way to create a safety network to govern ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next speaker, Jenny Tang. Jenny, are you on the phone? Jenny, are you on the line?
Hi, yes, I'm right here.
Okay, very good. All right, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, my name is Jenny, and I'm a Jersey City resident and a member of Solidarity Jersey City, here to talk about defunding the police. According to research detailed in the Washington Post last week, until 1980, the American government spent roughly the same amount on criminal justice as it did on cash welfare. Then came the war on drugs in the 1980s and the welfare cuts in the 1990s. Today, the U.S. spends twice as much on police, prison, and courts as it does on cash welfare. So we can see a dramatic shift in this country's priorities, funneling money away from preventing poverty towards beefing up our resources, beefing up our responses to one of poverty's biggest consequences, crime. We can see this on the city level too. There are still Jersey City ordinances that can be used to profile and target poor Black and brown people. Section 242.10 states that it's not only unlawful for any person to purchase or attempt to purchase a controlled dangerous substance, but that it's also unlawful for any person to knowingly loiter anywhere drugs are being illegally sold or stored. Quote unquote, knowingly being at the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong skin color could result in a fine between $100 and $1,000 and or imprisonment for up to 3 months and or community service. According to FBI data, in the decade that spanned from 2009 to 2018, the Jersey City Police Department made 77,838 arrests. A fifth of those arrests were for drug abuse violations, for buying or selling drugs. Are those people actually getting the help they need, or are they stuck in a traumatizing cycle of survival? As another example, under Section 239.13, a parks director, park employee, or police officer is given the authority to eject or even confiscate the property of anyone soliciting alms or sleeping or lounging on park property. This city, as well as this country, has prioritized treating symptoms of poverty rather than its root causes. In 2019, Jersey City proposed a budget that would allocate over $107 million just to police salaries, wages, and other expenses. For every dollar spent on the police, the city spends 7 cents on housing, economic development, and commerce, 5 cents on health and human services, and 4 cents on recreation. Police are given the authority to deal with people who are trying to survive without access to affordable housing, professional help, or a community that is equipped to meet their basic needs so that they can thrive. We need to stop defunding programs that keep poor people afloat and then criminalizing them for doing everything they can to not drown. We can do this by defunding the police and investing in our communities. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Rachel, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay,
Yep.
Rachel.
Hi.
Very good. Okay,
Well,
your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Rachel Rodriguez, and I'm a Jersey City resident of Ward B, as well as a member of Solidarity Jersey City. In light of the potential formation of an ad hoc committee to review police procedures, I implore you to not only ensure the validity of this committee's ability to effectively rethink public safety, but also consider allocating current funds held for the police force to actively progress this public safety. Reallocating these funds can help prioritize proactive interventions towards the community's health and care. In short, we should be investing in care for the community, not just crime. Currently, Jersey City has a total of 5 free or economically accessible drug and alcohol rehabilitation centers, one of which is within Christ Hospital, which we were fighting to save only a few months ago. This is an extremely limited quantity considering the city's dense population, and is a direct, proactive solution for drug-related offenses, as well as a clear example of how to prioritize community members' health and safety. Another quick example of our lack of support towards public health and safety would be our abysmal budget towards environmental health. Just last year, Jersey City was exposed to a chlorine fire from a chemical plant near the Pulaski Skyway, triggering a health advisory within our community and creating a visible example of the constant air pollution your citizens are forced to breathe. Yet a measly $941,000 is invested in environmental health within our Department of Health and Human Services, as opposed to the $106 million allocated to our police department. Altogether, our Department of Health and Human Services, which also facilitates disease prevention, animal control, and senior citizen assistance, receives approximately 5% of what is allocated to our police department. We seem to have forgotten that safety comes in several forms, and compassion should be at the forefront of how we interact with our community. Care for our city should not look like forceful compliance and fear. So I implore you again to please invest in care, not crime. Also, please consider backing the Liberty State Park Protection Act. Liberty State Park is a rare relic that supports wildlife as well as the community. Natural spaces should not be commodified. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Our next speaker listed is Chantel Henry. Okay. Okay, we're getting her patched in right now. Just give me 1 second. I appreciate everybody's patience. Chantel?
Hello,
Chantel? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
it's Chantal.
Chantel Henry, correct?
Yes, it is.
Very good. Okay, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening. My name is Chantal Henry. I am a native Jersey City resident and a member of Solidarity Jersey City. I'd like to talk about defunding the Jersey City Police and investing in the care of our residents. The mission of Jersey City claims to create an unparalleled quality of life for residents. This same mission touts that Jersey City is one of the nation's most diverse cities. Simple analysis says that Jersey City creates an unparalleled quality of life for residents of America's most diverse city. Quality of life, in the textbook sense, is the standard of health, comfort, and happiness experienced by the individual or group. Yet if you were to survey the current residents of this quote-unquote diverse city, I believe that they would state differently, or even worse, they wouldn't even know it could get any better. Looking at the budget, it would appear that Jersey City's mission is more aligned with arming the police to the teeth instead of arming our students with the academic means to succeed. This gap is incredibly seen in the area of education. Nationally, the achievement gap between the wealthy students and the poor students is growing dramatically. In comparison, evidence suggests that crime has significantly fallen within the last decade. The face of Jersey City mission and the face of the Jersey City budget do not line up. The current city budget plans to spend approximately $106 million on the Department of Public Safety wages and salaries. This is apparently 17% of the total appropriate expense budget of $595 million. This lapse in appropriate fund allocation shows the ineptitude of the Jersey City government to truly, explicitly, and sustainably understand the needs of the Jersey City community. This money could be put towards investing in public schools, universal child care, transportation, grocery co-ops, gardens, and farms. Instead of relying on property taxes to fund schools, the city should finally provide equal education across all 6 neighborhoods in Jersey City. The monetary allocation to the education of a child should not be based on said child's family economic contribution to the Jersey City government. What we are asking of teachers and pillars of education is immense and impossible to produce under the current budget. The breakdown of the budget optically suggests that what a teacher does could easily be done by a police officer, which obviously is ludicrous. Black and Hispanic students make up 86% of the student body between all 39 Jersey City public schools, and our district's average school ranking is in the bottom 50% of schools in New Jersey. The breakdown of the budget is effectively telling them that City Council would rather charge them for crime than provide them with youth programs that they are ultimately entitled to. I hope the committee established by Resolution 20-373 will resolve to spearhead a sustained effort to defund the Jersey City Police Department and direct those funds efficiently to care for the residents of Jersey City. Thank you for your time. And as a point of order, we expect council members to remain at their posts and give the public their full attention. If you have to excuse yourself from this call, please give notice. The people are eager to share their time and share their thoughts and have time to wait. Thank you. I'll yield my time.
Thank you. Okay. Our next speaker, Mildred. Mildred, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, very good, Mildred. Your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
My name is Mildred Carlasio. Mayor Fulop, Council President Waterman, Councilman Solomon, and other distinguished council members. I am deeply affected by the serious and heart-wrenching issues being discussed tonight at the meeting. But I am speaking in another issue. I am speaking in direct opposition to the pedestrian plaza established yesterday in front of City Hall on Grove Street. My husband and I own the business Carlasio Orthopedics, located directly opposite City Hall. Our business was established in 1923 and we will be celebrating 100 years in business very soon. We make orthotics and prosthetics and cater to the handicapped. Our business will suffer greatly if this pedestrian plaza, which was established yesterday without any notice to the businesses in the area, is allowed to continue. Our business employs at least 8 full-time workers, which will lose their job if this plaza is allowed to continue. This area is designated a historic district. I had to get special permission to paint the front historic color of my building. Now the street is lime green. When was this historic designation changed? The main problem in this area is parking for the patrons of the businesses, and yet someone makes a decision to take out all of the parking spaces and make a pedestrian plaza. Who makes these unrealistic decisions? Who was consulted? Certainly not the people who will be affected. What will these pedestrians do? Walk around in circles? There's only one restaurant that is open during the day. The others open at 5 p.m. The other restaurants in the area will not benefit from this mall as they need parking for deliveries and pickup of lunches and dinners and parking for patrons. What about people who take buses to our store and handicapped vans that deliver patrons for our services? Where will they let people out and enter the facility? This decision is in direct opposition to Governor Murphy's Executive Order number 107. Please consider this rash decision, which benefits no one and takes away the main commodity we desperately need, parking. Thank you so much for this time to allow my decision to be heard.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Are there any, could anyone comment, or the councilman cannot comment?
They're not going to answer any questions if you're posing any questions at this time. This is purely for your statements.
Thank you for the time for me to vent. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker, Craig, are you on the line?
Hi, this is Craig.
Okay, Craig, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, my name is Craig Spivak. I organize with Solidarity Jersey City and the Mutual Aid 10 Collective of Hudson County. And tonight I'd like to talk about defunding the police. We have enormous inequality in Jersey City and across this country, and the police's job is to keep people who are desperate in line and incarcerated when they have to turn to illegal business to survive. As inequality rises, so does funding for police. While nearly every other part of local government has been under austerity conditions for decades. One of these areas is housing. If we want to look at root causes of why crimes get committed, along with getting food on the table, having a roof over your head is one of our most fundamental needs. If people start facing housing insecurity, then of course they might engage in behavior outside the legal economy. These crimes come from desperation. We've seen countless units of public housing defunded and fractured by being sold off to so many nonprofit corporations that it becomes impossible to conduct oversight and make sure tenants are able to live affordably and in dignity. Instead of throwing a racist institution at the effects of poverty, we can dismantle it and use its funds to provide housing and meet people's material needs. I spoke at the meeting where the council voted to move forward with the bond for Bayfront, and I was somewhat happy to see the affordability numbers for the first development. 35% is much higher than a lot of previous projects, but that means it's still 65% market rate, so mostly unaffordable to a majority of Jersey City residents. My understanding is that the plan is largely to continue this pace of affordability, selling off parcels of land to developers. I'm asking the city to retain ownership of as much of the remaining land as possible and develop it into social housing. Without the need for profit, the city would be able to offer a much greater amount of affordable housing. Instead of being a one-time payout, it becomes a resource that pays for itself and can be sustained for generations. It could be used to continuously expand publicly owned housing and allow us to assert democratic control over the housing market. We can direct money from police to housing to make this a reality. We can also use our currently police funds to support our neighbors in the creation of community land trusts so that we can put barricades up against gentrification. I've talked to too many of our neighbors who are facing eviction and telling me their next move is down south. If you want the whole city to look like downtown, you can continue on the current path. If you want to build a truly equitable Jersey City, we'll need to defund the police and use that money to create a housing policy controlled by the people, not real estate developers and speculators. These public ownership models and social democratic investments in housing instead of in police exist in this country. It's just that they're mainly given to white people. In Winfield Township in Union County, all of the housing is owned by the town through the publicly controlled Winfield Mutual Housing Corporation. The highest rent is less than $800 a month for a 5.5-bedroom house, but Winfield is 96.4% white. Politics is the method by which we decide who gets what. It's a political decision to not spend money on housing for Black people and non-Black people of color, and to instead spend it on criminalizing and incarcerating them. It's a political decision to allow a 119% increase in population of chronically homeless, unsheltered people in Hudson County from 2017 to 2018. I hope that the committee that will be established by Resolution 2373 takes this into account and orders defunding the police in order to fund housing for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Okay. Maria Ross has declined to speak. Next speaker is Adriana Williams.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
My name is Adriana, and I'm the president of the Black Diaspora Club here in Jersey City. This June 6th, this Saturday that passed, we had a protest at City Hall that had about 4,500 people to around 6,000 people come out and show support for the Black Lives Matter movement and for the Black lives here in Jersey City and around the world. As everyone so eloquently stated before, we need to decide how we allocate our money in the city much more precisely. It's a problem that we have an economy of punishment rather than one of care. We need to put money into, in my school, we have more security guards and police than we have nurses. We have one nurse. Our nurse got fired. We had 2 nurses and one of them got fired. In our schools, we don't even have a school therapist. We only have one school drug addiction intervention person. We need to have more resources in order to take care of the students of our city. Putting money, like I am a student of Jersey City, and I know how this district has failed me in terms of how much money has gone into the resources in our schools. We need to understand that all these other cities that have less crime than our neighborhoods, it's not because they have the reason why we have, if we had more resources, that would deter crime is what I'm trying to say. We need to put more resources into our communities instead of having more police, okay? There is the NewJersey.com use of force report shows that Jersey City police officers are 489% more likely to use force against Black people than white people. That is ridiculous. We need to reallocate our funds in the city, as everyone so eloquently stated before. Our city's budget is a reflection of its priorities. We need to show the city that our Black citizens matter, that our Black lives matter, our Black education matters, our Black restaurants matter, all our Black tax dollars matter, everything about us matters. It's important that you show us that you care about us as our elected officials. And if you decide that you don't care about us as your elected officials, you will not be reelected. Thank you very much. I use my time.
Okay. Our next speaker is Dr. Muslim, but I did not receive a telephone number. And I do know that Dr. Muslim is watching and has been commenting in the live Q&A. If you would please provide your phone number so that we can contact you so you can speak for your 3 minutes, it would be greatly appreciated. Dr. Muslim, if you're listening, please provide us with your telephone number so that we may call you for you to be able to speak during the public hearing. We will wait for that. And as we're waiting for that, we're going to go on to our next speaker. Alexis went right to voicemail. So we'll try her again. Matthew, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Okay. All right, Matthew, your time is going to start in my countdown in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm a resident of Jersey City. I live just south of the Hoboken border, and I have enjoyed living in Jersey City for the past year. I wanted to bring before you, as a concerned American citizen and a concerned Jersey resident, in light of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor's, Tony McDade's, and Ahmaud Arbery, and so many other Black lives that have been lost to police brutality, I wanted to see what steps the Jersey City government was taking to start allocating funds away from the police department. You are seeing a movement across the country in different municipalities where funds are being allocated to other services, healthcare, education, other community-based alternatives that better help the people that that live in those communities. I think one of the concerns also just across this country is the militarization of the police, and this is backed by, I think, the amount of funding that a police department receives within a calendar year. I do know that currently the funds that go to the police departments make up about 20% of the budget for Jersey City. And so as a concerned citizen, I am asking if the government would look to allocate some of those funds elsewhere and join the other cities and municipalities that are taking those steps. I also know that in Louisville, in Kentucky, where Breonna Taylor was murdered, there is going to be a Breonna's Law that is looking to be placed, and I'm trying to see if there's a law that already exists here in Jersey City, and to see if there is if not, to see if a similar law could be passed, which essentially would completely eliminate no-knock warrants, which is essentially, this is what led to her death, that the police officers did not knock and they shot recklessly and they killed her. So that's essentially what I wanted to present. And I sent an email to the Jersey City government also earlier this week regarding the funds. And I really hope that the Jersey City government follows in the lead of so many other municipalities and cities in addressing police brutality and addressing violence and racism within the community. Because this has been, it's systemic violence, it's systemic racism against the Black community, and it's definitely, it's the responsibility of the government to make sure that these things do not happen. I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Alana Thompson. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that first name right.
That's fine. It's Alana Thompson. Thank you.
Elena, I am so sorry, Elena. I apologize. Okay.
No worries.
Yeah, thank you. Your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, council members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. Again, this is Alana Thompson. I'm an attorney and I am a Ward E resident. I'm speaking tonight to plead with you to divert funding from the Jersey City Police Department and move that money to invest in services that actually make us safer and stronger as a community, such as affordable housing, education, healthcare infrastructure, and other social services. Unfortunately, you can't separate out racism and brutality from the institution of policing. It's not about bad apples. It's about an institution that is wholly a part of our society. And as such, it reflects the biases, prejudices, and racism, recognized or not, upon which our society was built and continues to exploit for the benefit of those at the top. It's up to us as a city to stop this institution that we created, that we fund, and for which we must therefore accept responsibility, from continuing to harass, brutalize, and murder people of color, especially Black men. We are so lucky to live in one of the most diverse cities in the nation, and our government must protect and serve all of its people. The only way to do that is to take money away from the police department and invest those funds in the community. Thank you so much for listening to me and all of the other Jersey City residents calling for a reimagining of policing in Jersey City. But as you know, you were elected not just to listen, but to act. To that end, I call on you to revise the 2020-2021 municipal budget to reallocate funds away from the police and towards things like public transportation, education, affordable housing, healthcare infrastructure, and other social services. Please don't just say Black Lives Matter. Please show us that Black Lives matter to you by divesting from the Jersey City Police Department and investing in our future. Now is the time for action. Thank you so much and be safe. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Okay. Our next speaker is Gabrielle Rowland. Okay. Gabrielle's coming on in a moment. So while we wait for Gabrielle, any member of the public that signed up to speak and wishes not to speak, if they can just please let us know in the live event Q&A. We will not try to call you back. There's quite a few numbers we have to do that with, and we're going to do that as we're moving down the speakers list. So with that being said, do I have Gabrielle on the phone?
Hello?
Gabrielle?
Yes, hello?
Okay, very good. All right, your time is going to start in my countdown. Can you hear me?
Oh, sorry, there's an automated message. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, your time is going to start with my countdown. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Yes, so my name is Gabrielle Roldan. I am a resident of the Ward D in the Heights. I've been a resident here for over 15 years. I grew up here. I am a alumni of McNair Academic High School. I also attended PS 27 here in the Heights. I am speaking in order to implore that Jersey City adhere to the demands of the Black Lives Matter movement in defunding the police department, Jersey City Police Department. I understand Mayor Fulop is prioritizing diversifying the force by hiring more and more police officers that he feels are going to somehow make things better. I can't agree. I'm backing all the other speakers that have spoken before. I think that we should definitely reallocate funding into our education system as a former student of the education system here. And I can agree with Adriana when she said that McNair Academic especially is lacking in so many resources. Students are being neglected, and as the number one high school. I'm so sorry. As the number one high school in New Jersey, they should be they should have these resources. Ooh, sorry about that. Mayor Fulop should be prioritizing diversifying administration and working with Superintendent Walker to diversify the JCBOE curriculum to ensure students of color, especially Black students, feel they are being represented, seen, and heard. Reform begins with our youth, and it is evident that students are being neglected at this time. I would also like to implore that other funding is allocated towards healthcare infrastructure and mental health care in our community. I think that our last option should be providing the police department with more weaponry and I do agree with Akasha when she says we do have to demilitarize our police department and make our community safer by doing so. So I yield the rest of my time, and I thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Okay, we have Morgan Burke. Morgan, are you on the line?
Yes,
Okay,
I am.
very good, Morgan. Okay, your time is going to start with my countdown in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, my name is Morgan Burke. I work as a public defender in. Yes.
Morgan, let me stop. Can we stop the time? Morgan, if you're by your computer, can you please turn your sound off on your computer? Because we're getting a terrible echo coming through.
Sure. Is that better?
Much better. Okay, great. We're
Okay.
going to restart it.
All right.
Okay? In
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
My name is Morgan Burke. I'm a Jersey City resident, and I also work as a public defender here in New Jersey. And every day I see the impact of policing on my clients. I also see how the system also fails my clients far in advance of them getting involved in the criminal legal system. And that includes with inadequate housing, education, healthcare, childcare. Policing is a back-end solution to a problem created by austerity, slashed budgets, things that this council can take steps to address. And we can basically create opportunities, create a better place for our residents to grow up and to have the support that they need from their city council and from the community. Nearly 20% of the entire city's budget is currently slotted to be allocated to the Division of Police. And I do believe that this money would be better spent on the Jersey City community itself, including education, housing, healthcare infrastructure, youth programming, non-coercive drug and alcohol treatment programs. We've been reforming the police for centuries now, and it is just not working. We should be moving towards defunding, abolition of the police, and creating safe society or safe communities by investing in our communities and giving people what they need. Black Lives Matter, and our budget should reflect that, and that means giving our communities what they need in terms of housing, education, healthcare, and all of that. So just wanted to quickly say that. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you so much. Okay. Our next speaker is coming in like 2 seconds. We're just trying to get Jenna on the line. She'll be with us momentarily. And just for the record, 5.50 Scott Wethel is there's a duplicate. He was also listed as 5.52, so we're only going to get him on the line once. Okay, we have to double back on Jenna. We have Scott coming in. We'll get Scott on the line in just a moment.
Hi, this is Scott.
Hi, Scott. Okay, your time is going to start on my countdown. We're going in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, council members. My name is Scott Wellfelt. I have lived in Jersey City for a decade. Currently live in Ward B with my 7-year-old son who goes to PS3 downtown. And the reason that I'm taking the time today to speak is not because the issue of police brutality is new. This is something that has gone on since America was founded. The very concept of American policing evolved from the slave catcher model that existed when our nation was founded. The reason that I'm taking the time tonight to speak is because this moment presents a unique opportunity to actually reimagine what we would like policing to be like or to not be like. When Council President Waterman asked, well, what does it mean to defund the police? I think many of the earlier speakers tonight painted a much more ambitious vision where it's not the idea of abolishing public safety. It's not anarchy. It's diverting funds to what actually supports the community. Think about, I want the council members to imagine if you had or have a family member who, I don't know, maybe suffers from addiction or has a mental illness and they're having an episode and maybe they need someone to intervene. Who do you want to show up? Do you want somebody with a gun to show up who is trained in command and control, and that is the mentality where they have to control the situation? And maybe they've done a sensitivity training or a mental health training. Or do you want a professional who, and what they know is mental illness, what they know is addiction, what they know is to respond to this person as a human being, not to control them, but to see them having a health crisis, to talk them down from that crisis, to get them the resources they need. And that's just one example. This is a unique opportunity to reimagine policing. And that's what it means to defund the police and to divert funding to other resources. And so with the council resolution that talks about this advisory committee, that is not reimagining, right? That is why, let's take a look at the policies. Let's take a look at discrimination in the police. No, let's take this moment to fully and fundamentally reimagine the society we want to live in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have David on the line. David, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, David, your time is going to start on my countdown in 3, 2, 1, go.
Thank you very much for the chance to speak tonight. My name is David T.K. Spencer. I've been a resident of Jersey City since 2017. I'm here tonight to join the many people that have called in to ask you to drastically defund Jersey City's police department. Almost 20% of this year's municipal budget, almost $112 million out of $612 million total, is proposed to go to the police department, which is far more than any other item on it. My neighborhood's taxes went up enormously last year, and I think we deserve better than this for our money. It's been said many times tonight, a major portion of the police department's budget must be diverted to things that actually strengthen our neighborhood, such as affordable housing, education, healthcare, drug addiction treatment, and other social programs. Eliminating police brutality and over-policing and racist policing is not a matter of reforming the department. George Floyd and Eric Garner, may they rest in peace, to name just 2 examples, were murdered by police officers whose police forces had been quote-unquote reformed many times. There have been attempts to reform the police since the civil rights era of the 1960s, and yet here we are. So I think it's time for us to learn our lesson, and the only way to move forward is to move money away from the systemically racist institution of policing and work with our communities to create and strengthen institutions that offer real help. I know the council is looking seriously at instituting a civilian complaint review board. If this is going to be part of our strategy, the board has to be fully independent of the police department, and it's got to have teeth. It should have full access to whatever resources it requires to function well. It needs to be fully available to all of our residents, regardless of disability status or homelessness or criminal record. It should include people from heavily policed parts of the city. And it should have the ability to suspend and fire officers if it deems fit. To be blunt, our officers should be scared to do anything that would cause the board's displeasure. I'll end by pointing out, and I'm not the first one to do it tonight, that our neighbors in Camden, New Jersey were ahead of their time when they dissolved and reorganized their police department in 2012. And I'd be very proud of our city to lead this time by defunding our broken police department now. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Okay, we have Jenna on the line. Jenna, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. All right, Jenna, your time is going to start on my countdown in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. My name is Jenna Barkis-Lichtenstein. I live in Ward E, and I'm also calling to talk about next year's budget. I applaud Mayor Phillips' commitment to review and reform police use of force policies, but it's not enough. I'm asking you to take radical steps to defund the police and move towards the goal of reimagining public safety without police, amplifying concerns raised by many other neighbors we've already heard from tonight. We keep pointing out that nearly 20% of our budget goes to police. I've heard a dozen people say it, and that's because it's outrageous. It's 50% more than the fire department. It's about 3 times as much as Public Works, 20 times as much as what Health and Human Services gets. The money that goes to the police would make an enormous difference elsewhere. We're in the middle of 2 really gigantic public health crises. COVID-19 has disproportionately affected Black people due to racism. And of course, the second major crisis is anti-Black policing. Moving money away from the police towards other services would fight both of these things at the same time. So I'm calling to ask that the 2020-2021 municipal budget reallocates funds away from police towards things like education, healthcare, job training, youth programming, non-coercive drug and alcohol treatment. I strongly encourage all of you to look carefully at the resources on 8toabolition.com. They talk not just about defunding, but demilitarization, removing police from schools, freeing people from jails and prisons, and repealing laws that criminalize behavior that harms nobody. I really hope you'll make a serious investment in reimagining public safety as a matter of community care rather than cops. It's in the best interest of all members of our community. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you act. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Okay, we have Paula. Paula, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Paula, your time is going to start on my countdown. We're going in 3, 2, 1, go.
My name is Paula Conlon, and I have been a proud Jersey City resident for 4 years. But I'm only just now becoming aware of the egregious discrepancies in budgeting. Jersey City's Department of Housing, Economic Development, and Commerce's budget is less than 8% of the police's budget. I am calling for a 25% cut of the police budget as an absolute minimum start. I think if 265,000 people are expected to be supported by $8.5 million for housing and $5.2 million for health and human services, then a police department that makes up less than 1,000 uniformed officers can live on $83 million. I was also incredibly disappointed by Mayor Phillips' response to police defunding. Rather than have an open dialogue about reallocating funds to more necessary social programs, he instead chose to gaslight his constituents by claiming that reducing the $111 million budget would mean laying off newer minority officers. He could instead look at the use of force cases against each JCPD officer and fire those with any record. He could instead control and put a cap on the excessive overtime spending, which in 2019 went nearly $5 million over budget. He could instead save by not paying for riot gear. But instead, he tried to scare us with a wag of the finger and cries about how Black and brown officers will suffer from budget cuts. This is unacceptable to me. I'm here to demand a reallocation of funds to social programs towards things like education, healthcare, including non-coercive mental health care, youth programming, and non-coercive drug and alcohol treatment programming. I also stand by Councilman Lavarro's push for a community-led civilian complaint review board. If our officers can't be held to a higher standard than its civilians, or even be held accountable, then that is not public service. Thank you for listening. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you so much. Okay, next is Rod. Rod, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Rod, your time is going to start on my countdown in 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm a resident of Jersey City for the past 12 years. Kind of seemingly not related, but it is related. Last night in Seattle, it has been reported there was an armed takeover of the Capitol Hill Police Precinct. This is now an establishment of a 6-block autonomous zone known as CHAZ, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. You'll hear about this in the news soon if you haven't already. This is extremely dangerous. This is born from calls for defunding the police. I want to know from every council member that while we should all be working towards policy reforms on law enforcement, such as #8Can'tWait, a review board, ending no-knock raids, that each of you is still fully in support of our police department and are committed to the security of Jersey City against these type of anarchist groups, such as Antifa, as it's reporting to be in Seattle. There are calls for defunding the police from Solidarity Jersey City, a self-proclaimed Marxist group. I'd be curious to know how many of them are actually part of Antifa as well. Regardless, this is playing with fire. As a son of immigrants from Iran, I have to tell everyone listening, once upon a time, the protests against the Shah, the king of Iran, were about human rights. This ended in a nightmare that still exists today. Unfortunately, young Americans my age have no idea how good we have it in this country. In Seattle, there is a literal armed Marxist rebellion that has claimed territory. I've studied how revolutions happen. This is madness, and as a major city, we need to be committed to making sure that this doesn't take hold here, because if they continue with success over there, and they're discussing going after another precinct, then they will try it everywhere else. We need to remember what being the United States of America is about, instead of taking it for granted in favor of political movements that have proven to lead to further suffering across the world for the past 100 years. From my wife's perspective, she is from Uzbekistan, growing up in the Soviet Union. And from my father-in-law, who says, never again, do not do this. Do not go down this path. This is a dangerous path that we're all entertaining right now. And there's a lot that can be done with regards to police abuse. There's a lot that can be reformed with regards to handling the police union and depowering that so they don't protect the bad actors and we hold those accountable. There's a lot that can be done. But defunding the police, you are risking our way of life. There's a complete lack of appreciation for the system of government that we do have that empowers individuals. And the fact that there are just, I would say, who's coming from privilege are those that want to throw this all away, because we are so lucky with what we have. And it is sad and it is scary, the ideas that are being put forward, I'm hearing. It is not going to lead to a good end. I'll say that.
Thank you. Okay. Our next speaker, do we have anybody on the line?
Yes, Kristen is here.
Hey, Christian, how are you? Okay.
Good, how are you?
Very good. Your time is going to start with my countdown in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, good evening, council members and Mr. Gallagher. Before I start on my topic, I just want to commend Adriana Williams and the Black Diaspora Club, Pamela Johnson, Frank Gilmore, for the inspiring work that they've done over the past, well, basically their whole lives, but especially over the past few weeks, just organizing and mobilizing. It's truly inspiring. Now on to my topic. Over the past few days, I've received some frantic emails from members of the Polish community about the proposed budget that allocates almost $10 million for renovations at the Exchange Place Plaza. We'd like to make sure that there's absolutely no intention for the Exchange Place SID to disturb the Katyn statue. I'd also like to make sure there's community input regarding whatever happens in that area. I tried to go back into the council meeting minutes when this was voted on in December of 2018, but the info on the website only goes back to 2019. So I wanted to see the wording of the final resolution. I believe it was changed to say the memorial would remain where it is in perpetuity. I'd like confirmation from the council members that we will not revisit this entire topic. I don't think anyone wants that. And whether or not the area is renovated, I'd like to see all of our cultural affairs and festivals return to Exchange Place if the event organizers choose that as their location. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm just inspired by all the speakers tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so the next speaker, Adriana, are you on the line?
Hi, yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Okay, Adriana, your time is going to start on my countdown, and we're going in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Adriana Balkasoon. I'm a Ward E resident. First off, I want to thank you for your time and service to the city. I'd first like to recognize and point out to the City Council how many students and young residents have participated in tonight's meeting. I'm not a student, but I think the City Council and Mayor should really dwell on how concerned your young residents are about the police force here in the city. As so many have mentioned before me, the city's 2020 to 2021 budget needs to be revisited and reallocated. Because others have already done so tonight with discussing the total police budget disparities, I'm not going to focus on that. But specifically, I'm going to focus on the amount spent on police overtime budget, which was reduced from 2018 to 2019. However, actual spending on the police overtime expenses have not been, reducing those efforts have not been effective. This was evidenced by actual spending exceeding budget by nearly $5 million, which was almost double what was budgeted last year. Additionally, this overspending has been challenged previously by council members, but has not been satisfactorily explained nor addressed. In light of the recent protests, police brutality, and unrest, I'm urging you councilmen and women to reconsider how the budget for public safety is currently being allocated. It is evident that current roles, responsibilities, policies, practices, and accountability needs to be overhauled by the City Council, especially as you work towards developing an ad hoc review committee. This excessive spending on overtime for police officers so clearly shows that the police officers are being asked of too much, have too much on their workload, and perhaps are not effectively and efficiently doing their job due to a lack of training and inexperience with those they serve, as they are consistently exceeding their overtime budget. And I need to emphasize again that they are not just exceeding this by a small amount, they are exceeding this by over almost double of what budget was. The second and contributing aspect to excessive spending is that the existing policies and procedures for reining in overtime with JCPD is not working, and credible challenge and accountability to enforce adherence by the JCPD has been ineffective. Lastly, as so many others have done so already, I'd emphasize the need to reallocate the public safety budget. As mentioned on numerous occasions in the past hour and a half, the council and the mayor need to reallocate the budget from the police department to education, training, civil services, and mental health experts within Jersey City. This reallocation would not only benefit our community, yourselves, and the police department. Lastly, I kindly ask you to review and share the 2019 detailed financial statements and budget for the JCPD that clearly outlines how these monies have been spent. This information has already been pointed out by several members of the community tonight. Additionally, I'd ask the council to provide a variance analysis outlining what the JCPD has spent on personnel costs, including overtime expenses, for the year-to-date 2020 and how that compares to the approved budget. I'd also point out, as someone else did tonight, that the 2019 annual audit and financial statements for the city are still not available online, and I ask that you upload those as soon as possible. Thank you again for your time and your service. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, council members, we're going back, and we have speaker 514, Jasmine Rosario, on the line. Jasmine, you're here?
Yes, I'm here. How are you?
Very good, thanks. Your time is going to start on my countdown in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so first and foremost, I would like to make it clear that I'm not too savvy with the political aspects of the communities, budgeting, and things of that nature. But I am a Jersey City native, and I do see a really, really big issue right now as far as how the city's budget is being distributed. I lived in the downtown area for some years, and I live in the Greenville area now, and I can tell you firsthand, it's like night and day. For example, I specifically live on Sterling Avenue, and there's not a single garbage can on my street, and it's disgusting. It's unfair. It's not safe, especially during these times. You would think that we can get a little bit more maintenance over here just to keep the community safe and sound, but it seems as though the downtown area is the only area that matters. And I'm not the only person that feels like this. It's super unfair. specifically on my street, there was one single garbage can for probably, I don't know, maybe 400 people that live on this street. And it was removed, like I want to say March, the beginning of when COVID hit. And it was never even replaced. But somehow there's time and there's funding to extend downtown's walkways and create one-way streets for people to go and sit and drink and eat. But my people on my street, the children, there's 2 daycares on this street. There's multiple food businesses, and we can't even get a garbage can. I personally think that the way the budget is allocated or distributed is not balanced at all, and this area needs to be just as much of a priority as any other area in Jersey City. And quite frankly, the people see it, you know, especially the Jersey City natives. They see it, they feel the difference. We want to be a part of our community, but it seems like certain areas of the community are pushing us out. And that's pretty much all I really wanted to say. But yeah, I definitely think there needs to be some changes in the Greenville area for the better.
Thank you so much.
No problem at all.
All right, our next speaker is going to be on the call in a minute. Just give me 1 second. If you have spoken and you're still on the line, you may hang up at this point. Any speaker that we skipped over, we've tried Shauna, speaker number 8, quite a few times. Went right to voicemail. So Shauna, if you're listening, if you can please let us know if you still want to speak. Alexa Martinez, speaker number 13, went right to voicemail as well. Alexa, if you're listening, please let us know if you still wish to speak, or if there's a different number, please provide that in the live Q&A. Sabrina Ortiz, speaker number 15. If you're listening or watching, please let us know. Cheyenne Masso, speaker number 16. All the names I'm reading are the members that we had to skip over because we didn't get an answer on their phone or just went right to voicemail. Speaker number 21, Deidre Newman. Speaker number 22, it's Narjisshabba. And then we have Melanie Chambers, speaker number 32. And we have Dr. Muslim, which we're trying to get on the phone. So if any other speaker that I called, if you're listening or watching, please let us know if you still wish to speak, or provide us with a different phone number, because the numbers that were provided, they're going right to voicemail. I appreciate your patience and your cooperation as well. And I don't want to move on until we have a final answer on those speakers. And my staff is working hard. We're going to just do 2 more minutes. We're still trying to call all of the individuals that were skipped over. So if you can bear with us, I'd really appreciate it. I just want to have the fair and open process that we always have and extend the courtesy to the residents that listed their names on the agenda. Thank you. All right, we have Dr. Muslim coming on.
Am I on?
Dr. Muslim, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, your time is going to start on my countdown in 3, 2, 1, go.
I have to start with a prayer because the police were literally at my door today doing an illegal entry. Well, I don't know if they were police because they never identified themselves. And they never said whether or not they had a warrant or why they were at my door, because I'm a law-abiding citizen. So in the midst of all of this going on today, in the midst of the city of Jersey City posting all the propaganda videos about they stand with Black Lives Matter, they're continuing police illegally entering my property, breaking a fence with a lock on it, mind you. Having watched a man get killed as if he's not human, which isn't surprising because as so many others before me have said, and especially the young people of the Blackmen United, it's really upsetting, but it's not surprising. Because everything the founding fathers had listed us with 3/5 of people, along with the dressers and tables that they were selling. So my name is Dr. Muslim. I'm a PhD in data analytics and social engineering. And for those that might not be familiar with that term, social engineering boils down to you get what you reward. There are tons of studies on intrinsic versus extrinsic behavior. For example, if you're a truck driver and you're paid on how many runs you can do, you're going to drive as crazy as possible because you need to get paid to feed your children. That's what the company's rewarding. But if that's the case, because I used to work for an insurance company, you're not saying surprise when there are tons of accidents and you're not getting sued for those drivers. You get what you reward. The previous voices that spoke for Black Men United Coalition, Black Diaspora, stating all the statistics, I'm not going to run those down again. What I'm going to ask, actually what I'm going to demand, because after, again, in corporate America, where most of my experience comes from with my 10-year career with Fortune 100 companies, if Jersey City was a company, everyone in the leadership would be fired and you would start over. Because you get what you reward. So don't feign surprise when there's tons of allegations of abuse within the department. If you pay lip service and jump on photo ops to show you're standing solidarity, quote unquote, but you continuously fund the same war on terror tactics that did not work before, you're getting what you're rewarding. Because you're not rewarding police for de-escalating situations. So in corporate America, if you're wrongfully terminated, you send a settlement demand. And it's a demand because, let me check my notes. Oh yeah, Mayor Phillips has been in office for 7 years now. So this is nothing new. And actually, slavery goes back over 400 years. If you've heard of something called the 1619 Project, you would know that. Or if you've read something called like microaggressions or white fragility, you would know that white women saying things like, I get what you're saying, Dr. Muslim, because this guy called me sweetie once is not the same thing. Because the adjacency that white women have to white privilege is something that I will never see. And I hear that beeping, and I know that that's my time, but that's crazy because other people yielded their time, so I wish I had a little bit more time to say this. We want
Thank you,
results,
Doctor.
not rhetoric.
Unfortunately,
We want
Doctor,
a list. We want a
Dr.
deadline
Muslim?
of when that will be done.
Dr. Muslim, unfortunately,
You
no
hear
one,
my stand?
no one's able to yield their time, even though they say it. That's not how it works here at the council chambers and in the council meetings. Once they're done
Shocking. That's yet another form of systemic oppression. But did you hear the settlement demand at the end? A
Once-
deadline for when these results are going to
Dr. Muslim,
Can you put that in the record?
your time is done.
We need to move on.
Is that in
Thank
the
you.
record? That's my question. I want to make sure it's going to be in the record.
Thank you.
Wow. Can't even answer that question.
Okay. Tried to contact the other speakers. Shauna?
Sean, could we move on if we can't get them? Because if we were in the chambers, if we called them and they're not there, we would move on.
Okay. Understood. I just don't want anyone to have or say anything that we didn't try. You know, we have the staff that's trying and they go right to voicemail, so we're leaving their voicemails now. So we are just going to mark them as did not speak, and we're going to move on. At your request.
Thank you, Joyce.
Okay.
All right, so speakers 2 through 6 did not speak. Speakers 10 through 13 did not speak. 15 and 16, 20 through 22, 31 through 32, 41, 44, and 51 did not speak. So now we are moving on with the rest of our agenda. Moving on to the petitions and communications, items 6.1 through 6.31. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Item 7.1. Any questions or comments? Okay. Items 8.1 through 8.3. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, on to our claims and addendum number 1. So on claims and addendum number 1, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson.
Aye.
Councilperson Navarro.
Question for to the business administrator, Brian Platt. Did we get that information regarding VIA and their usage, the usage of the VIA service, car share service?
Yeah, we've been going back and forth quite a bit with their data team and our data team. We're still finalizing the dashboard and the display of the data, but it's coming soon. I apologize for the delays on that.
Okay. So Sean, I'm going to ask, can I get on page 20, under the Clean Communities grant, there were two vendors there, Imperial Bag and Paper Company for $8,899 and Stephen Moran for $1,500. I'd like to get copies of the paperwork related to those claims. In addition, on page 26, in relation to 720-726 Bergen Avenue, it reads, which I'm assuming is the same entity that was just earlier voted on. There was a $5,952 claim. I'd like to get a copy of the claim for that one as well.
Councilperson Navarro, can you just repeat the two on page 20 that you're looking for?
It's Imperial Bag and Paper Company for $8,899.
8,890.
99.
I apologize. Thank you.
And Stephen Moran for 1,500.
1,500.
That's on the Clean Communities.
And how much was the claim on the 720, 726?
5,952.
Thank you. I'll get you those copies right after the meeting.
Thank you. So I'm going to vote no on page 7 for the contract for Eric Bernstein for the claim there of $11,880. I voted no on that contract originally, and still don't support the payment for that contract. And then secondly, it was for $11,880 on page 7.
Okay.
And then on page 26 is again, there are two claims to the company Terzetto, which is one is for $103,183.49, and the other one is for $10,000. And I had voted no on the allocation of funds for Terzetto as well, and stand by that vote by not supporting the claim as well. And for folks who, for the viewing public, those were previous votes regarding some affordable housing decisions and allocation of funds towards those towards that development over there. So I vote yes on all the rest, but no on the ones I just mentioned.
Okay. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Okay, claims and addendum number 1 are approved 9-0, with the exception of the claims that Councilperson Lavaro went over on page 7 and page 26, and will be noted in my notes in the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. I meant to say also page 23. River North Transit, which is the VIA service, for $125,000, $991.09. I'm going to vote no until get the information that's been requested from VIA regarding their usage.
And the one on page 26, the name of the entity?
Terzetto, Terzetto.
Thank you.
My apologies.
Okay, and then the rest is I, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so claims and addendum are approved 9-0, with the exception of Eric Bernstein's on page 7, on page 23, River North, and page 26, Terzetto. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, moving on to our resolutions. Before I take a vote on the resolutions, I believe that the intention of Councilperson Solomon to withdraw item 10.4, resolution 20-367.
I second that.
Yes, that's the intention. There were a couple of legal and financial questions, but we would like to bring it back, or I intend to bring it back at the next meeting, but we want to just send everybody updates on the legal financial questions, as well as potentially make 1 or 2 adjustments to it.
Very good. Okay, with that being said, so on items 10.1 through 10.3 and 10.5 through 10.10, 10.11 has been withdrawn, and 10.12 through 10.14. Councilperson Ridley.
Wait a minute, Sean. I looked at 10.10. They didn't change the month. Remember, we said we should change it to 9 months. It's still 6 months.
Yep.
Make sure it's that.
Yes, Council President. Yeah, that is the one change that for some reason didn't make it in. All the other changes should be there. So we have to just make that amendment on the record.
Yep, I will fix the resolution. I'm not sure why that didn't come in. I copied exactly what was provided to me through the email, but I will make that adjustment. So we're going from 6 months to 9 months, which was clearly discussed at the caucus.
Correct.
We will make that change, and we'll vote it when we voted on it as with 9 months. Okay?
Okay.
With that being said, Councilperson Ridley.
Sean, we're going to 1014, correct?
That's correct. So we're going from 10.1 through 10.10.
With the exception of withdrawals.
That's right. 10.4 and 10.11.
Okay, aye for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Baggiano.
I'll abstain on 10.10 and aye for the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Saleh.
I want to say aye for all, and also to address some of the concerns of the community that, this ad hoc committee is essentially supposed to get the voice of the community. And I think it's appropriate that we do this. And I know some people wanted action, but I think, we have to listen to people. We have to listen to the residents. We have to get the stakeholders at the table. And I also do believe that any action we take here on the city level is incomplete if we don't address it on the statewide level as well. For every Black person that is in college, there are 3 that are jailed. And for every Hispanic person that is in college, there's about 2.7 that are in prison. and it costs $58,000 in the state of New Jersey to incarcerate someone per year versus $14,000 to $20,000 to educate them. So it costs more to incarcerate than educate. So we have to do a holistic view of all our priorities, not just on the municipal level, but on the state level as well. And I urge everyone that was here today to work alongside the city council and this ad hoc committee to work with the state to make sure that we have our priorities straight.
Okay, thank you. Councilperson Solomon.
I for all, and I hear 1010. Appreciate Councilwoman Waterman pushing it forward, and I hear the community to say that this is a step, but one of many, and you know, there's much more we'll be doing in the coming months and coming weeks.
Thank you. Councilperson Robinson.
Thank you, Council President, for 1010. I for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Lavaro.
Yeah, let me just start with 10.5 and 10.6. I just want to congratulate Elizabeth Castillo being appointed the Chief Financial Officer. For the viewing public who's not familiar, Elizabeth Castillo is a long-standing employee for the city of Jersey City, Hispanic woman. And as I've said in previous meetings, it's about time that we've promoted internally and particularly people of color within into leadership positions in the city of Jersey City, and that we reward those city employees who have contributed to the work of Jersey City as a whole. And I also want to congratulate the reappointment of the Chief Judge, Carlo Abad. And as we said in the caucus, keep up the very good work, Chief Judge. And then I want to take the time to address Resolution 1010. And so support the Council President's call here for a committee, and looking forward to the work that the committee will do in reviewing the policies. And as the Council President pointed out, we're going to amend, this is being amended to have a longer horizon of 12 months, 9 months rather, for this committee to be in effect. The mayor announced that he was signing on to the Obama Foundation's recommendations with regard to policing, and talked about changing many of the policies, use of force policies for the city of Jersey City via his executive action. And so we need to make sure we hold folks accountable with regard to the use of that those policies. And so for the people who came out today, thank you for coming out and expressing your voice. And I urge you to stay engaged, and I know you will, because I can hear the passion in your voice. As many of you have noted, oftentimes in Jersey City, particularly, this has been when we talk about ending the tale of two cities, when we've talked about transformative change, we've talked about progressive policies. It's a lot more window dressing than actual substance. And I can point to you several examples, and I won't spend a lot of time talking about that, but you can look at the project labor agreements where we've talked about trying to increase minority hiring on all of the construction and development going on in Jersey City. And after we effectuated those sort of changes, how literally nothing has changed with regard to that, because there literally are no project labor agreements anymore. And so that's just one example, and I can go on and with other examples, and I won't, out of deference, respect to everybody's time here. But I will say this, that I agree with folks about what they're saying with regard to an opportunity to take action now, that the moment calls for this. It calls for us to take action, and this committee will do some of those things, but there are things we can do now, including the Civilian Complaint Review Board, which we need to make sure that it has teeth and move urgently to put that into place. The other thing is looking at the refunding of our priorities. And I've said this in the past, that you show me your budget and I'll show you your priorities, and have talked in the past 2 years, particularly as the state cut our school funding, that we reprioritize some of our funding. And Councilman Solomon in particular had looked at some of the overtime costs, and that was raised by one of the speakers. And as you pointed out, that $5 million in over expenditures around overtime We saw that. I pointed out last year that even before we had approved the budget, that the money that was budgeted for overtime in 2019, $6.5 million, had been spent within 7 months of the 12-month period of the budget, and ultimately overspent by nearly $5 million in overtime money that could have been invested in other areas. And at the time, we talked about reinvesting that in our educational system because we had a school funding crisis and continue to have a school funding crisis here in Jersey City, on top of now the crisis that comes with COVID-19 and the budget crisis that we have now. So the timing is now to begin reimagining, as folks said, and to reprioritize our budget. And I want you to know that I'm committed to doing that. And I just want to put on people's radars as well, for those who came out to speak, and I hope you're still out there listening, is that I voted no in 2018 on the mounted police, in creating a mounted police that is intended for the purpose of, well, one thing being public relations, but as was cited in public statements and in meetings, as people pushed forward for a mounted police, for being able to maintain order, law and order in rallies and riots and protests and things of that nature, the kind of which we've seen today. And imagine if that mounted police was still here. And so that's moved forward, $1 million dedicated to that, to paying for police and paying for the maintenance of those police, a shed of and land on Monmouth Street, desirable land in Jersey City that is going to be used to build sheds for the horses, and then money going forward that will be spent to care for veterinary care and feed, and as I pointed out at the budget hearing, or one of the meetings that we talked about, the pooping, scooping of cleaning up after horses, and I was told at that time by the director of public safety that we don't clean up after horses anymore. They have diapers, and so we can pay for their diapers as well. So yes, there is room to reprioritize our budget. There is room to look at that, and we should move to make swift and immediate action in this budget now to do that, because we do have a funding crisis now for our schools, and we have a funding crisis with COVID-19. And I look forward to working with the advocates out there urgently to make this a reality. I vote aye and all the rest.
Okay. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye. Congratulations to Elizabeth and Chief Judge Abbott.
Thank you. And Council President Waterman.
I want to thank everyone who tuned in to express their concerns. In May, the situation happened with George Floyd, and it's a horrible situation. Being a Black woman, I know what it is to be discriminated against. And I heard some of the speakers said, you know, it's not enough. But I grew up in the civil rights era, and when Rosa gave up her seat, which she wasn't the first one, but they felt like she was the one that can get the point across. Being in a situation like that, it's always with timing. And to me, this is an opportune time. You saying it's not enough, but it's a start. Because when you deal with racism, to be perfectly honest, you have to start somewhere. And it's an ugly, ugly, ugly thing, and it's not easy to tackle. Like I said, I'm Black all my life, and I know what racism really is. So for me, this is a start. Some of you may not like it, you want to do more, but I started. That's what's important. I started. And I believe with this board, to be perfectly honest, because the majority will be residents, not even, you know, the city government, it'll be residents. I believe the voice of the people will be heard. I believe that. I have hope. I have hope in the millennial generation. I see them out there protesting. I have hope in Generation Z, and I have hope in the Alpha generation. So if we can give them a start to start pushing back some of this discrimination, I think this world can be a better place. So I'm open. I hear your concerns, and believe me, I believe we have an opportunity now to get rid of some of the ugliness that Black folks been facing for centuries. I vote aye.
Thank you. Just to recap, items 10.1 through 10.3 are voted 9-0 unanimously. 10.4 was withdrawn. 10.5 through 10.9 are approved 9-0. 10.10 is approved 801 with Councilperson Baggiano abstaining. 10.11 was withdrawn. 10.12 through 10.14 is approved 9-0. And while you guys were speaking, I went to the resolution and I did find that it did have the 9 months in the resolution. So I'm not sure if it just didn't make the agenda that way, but I wound up just hitting export again. So it is there. The 9 months is there. The 9 months was on there when I actually did the amendment from the caucus. And I'm not sure why it didn't appear online.
Thanks, Sean.
Sean, this is Nick. It's actually, the part needs the 9 months is that for the term of office for the members of the committee. That was what was 16 to get changed to 9. So it's actually at the very bottom of the resolution for the term of the membership.
The term of the membership of the officers?
Of the members of the committee. That was need to go from 6 to 9. Yep.
Okay, so that's still not correct.
Yep, so that needs to go from 6 to 9. That was the change that needed to get made.
Okay, I'll make sure that gets done. I thought it was just the 9 months, the term of the committee.
No worries, it was for the individual members. That's what it was. Yep.
Very good. I'll have that corrected. Thank you. Thanks, Nick, and council members. Okay, on to our next set of resolutions. I'm going from items 1015 through 1025. And I'm going to call for a vote. Councilperson Ridley. So items 1015 through 10.25.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Frinzeri.
That's all.
Thank you. Councilperson Baggiano.
Yeah, 1 second, Sean. Sean, I just want to say, they're all voting on this garden thing, $1 million. You're all talking tonight. You hear all these people about budget, money, and everything. We used to have community gardens. They're gone. I had here, somebody sent me a text showing what it cost. Here, $1 million divided by the 19,000 pounds per year, divided by 3 years length of contract, comes out to about $17.50 per pound for lettuce. Are you kidding? And at a time like this, we don't need this. I vote no on 1022.
Your vote on all the rest?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Councilperson Saleh.
I vote aye for all, and I heard the concerns about people regarding, the mandatory, whether it was mandatory or not for people to submit to like blood testing, and I believe it's voluntary, and I do think that this will go a long way towards providing healthy, clean food to residents in Jersey City. And I don't think equality is enough because we have to level the playing field. And when we talk about the police system and when, people, by the time they interact with the police, society has failed them a million times over, and resources and access to food and access to the same schools. So this is a start, and I happily vote aye for all.
This is Brian. If I could just further comment on Councilman Soleil's comments here on number 1022 Aero Farms. Yeah, I'm confirming that this is the education and awareness piece is voluntary. It is performed by the Department of Health and Human Services. It's not Aero Farms that is intrusively gathering data on anyone who is using or receiving any of the fresh leafy greens. It is merely an effort on the city side to ensure that we're educating and promoting healthy eating habits. It's all voluntary. I can't stress that enough. We heard a lot of the speakers tonight talk about forcing people to submit to certain types of testing in programs. It's all there. All those programs and testing are available now through Health and Human Services for free. This is just another way to introduce different populations of the city to those programs.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilperson Solomon.
I'll vote no on 1022 and aye on all the rest. And just briefly, I hear the BA and we heard the health director via email explain the voluntary portion. But I think, I don't see the need for us to rush it forward. I'd love to see, clearly what are the forms going to say when people sign up for this. And to Councilman Boggiano's point on the funding, yes, we absolutely need to provide, free, healthy vegetables citywide, address some of the disparities. But what is the best way to do that? And is this the best use of the money without local job guarantees in the contracts that are coming forward? So I just think it's a good idea, but there's way more detail to be worked through, I think, before we should have voted on it. So I vote no on 1022 and aye on all the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Robinson?
Which numbers up to 24?
25. So we're going from 1015 to 1025.
Aye for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Navarro.
On 10.22, so let me say this. I think there are merits to the idea of vertical lines. And to the question, and so there was some uncertainty as to whether or not the education and the health screenings would be voluntary, and so we're taking folks at their word about the voluntary nature of those requirements, or not requirements because they're voluntary. So of those components of the program in that sense. So I'll take you at your word for that, and then that's but I do agree with the Councilman Solomon's remarks on this, that he said it in caucus about it being slightly appearing to be paternalistic, right? This idea that folks who are not so healthy, that maybe they should, this is our way of kind of nudging them in the right direction in that regard. While I think there are things we can do as programs to be able to try to encourage healthy lifestyles, for sure, and I certainly could use that myself. So I'm one of those folks as well. But at the same time, we're in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and as has been pointed out, the need for foods and the food scarcity and the food need that is out there right now. And so even the implication that somehow that there's contingencies upon getting the foods, I think can in many ways dissuade folks from participating in the program and getting the food that they may desperately need for themselves and their families. The other thing I would just want to point out is the mention of jobs and the opportunities there, and thought that maybe there would be some opportunities for jobs and entrepreneurship and things of that nature. As was pointed out in the caucus, there may be some room for people to volunteer in cutting vegetables that are yielded from the crop and so forth around that from the farms, as opposed to the community gardens that other speakers brought up from the public, where communities actually really got to own their gardens and the product from that they produced in their community gardens and the like. I would hope that we would do something similar here. The last thing I point out and just make a point of is that while it's great that the vegetables be free, and not sure exactly what the cost benefit analysis is here and whether it ultimately pays off in that regard, the one thing that I will point out is that it is eligible to anyone who's a Jersey City resident, and I would urge the administration to consider putting income qualifications on this. With all due respect, and while if we're trying to provide food, we want to, in my estimation, in my humble opinion, we should be providing food for those who need food, the neediest among us, and take those sort of scarce resources as well to ensure that those folks are getting that. And so my fear is that ultimately, like so many other programs that have been established in Jersey City, that we talk about the target of Black and Brown communities and low-income communities and just under resourced communities and so forth, food deserts. That in fact we're going to find that there's going to be more wealthy, affluent, and not and whiter communities that are going to be taking advantage of these programs. I'll say it just like that. Similar to things like, as we talked about, City Bike and how that was pulled back on in communities that didn't utilize the programs, and that's my concern, and some of the reason why I raised questions about VIA, because we talked about using the VIA service to address the transportation needs for underserved communities that had lost public service, public transportation service, and bus lines in those in their neighborhoods in Greenville and in the south, and then up in the heights where lines were also canceled as well, or service was diminished. And so I fear that we're doing the same thing here and providing a service, and that's why I'm asking for numbers on VIAs to see, are we actually achieving our goals, and our seniors and other low-income communities being able to access this service in a way that was promised with the advent of those services, as is being promised here. And so I'm skeptical, and I think more time and work should be put into this, including the suggestion by Councilman Solomon about conducting evaluations and having that component in place so that we know and we have assurances of that. For all of those reasons, I can't support it at this time, and I'll vote no on 1022 and aye on all the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Rivera
Aye.
and Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Okay, you would just allow me to recap. Items 1015 through 1021 are approved 9-0. Item 1022 is approved 6-3, with council members Baggiano, Solomon, and Lavaro voting no. Items 1023 through 1025 are approved 9-0. On to the next schedule of resolutions, items 10.26 through 10.35 with the 10.36 was withdrawn, so we're going from 1026 through 1035. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson.
Aye.
Councilperson Lavaro.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera
Aye.
and Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Okay. Items 10.26 through 10.35 are approved unanimously 9-0. Item 1036 was withdrawn. On to the balance of our resolutions, items 10.37 through item 10.41. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye for all.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson.
Just on 10.41, I know we've been experiencing a whole lot of racism going on, and I just wanted to actually read not the whole resolution, but the first whereas. Whereas we recognize on May 25th, 2020, George Floyd, a 46-year-old black man, was lynched in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Mr. Floyd died after being brutally restrained by police officers. One officer notably knelt on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds while Mr. Floyd was handcuffed and laying face down on the street. That horrific incident prompted communities all across over the globe to acknowledge the inequalities of Black life in the United States. I just want to say thank you to my council colleagues who voted before me. I'm hoping this passes 9-0. I want to say thank you to the youth that's out here every day. They have given me a lot of energy to make sure that we keep this fight going, to recognize that, you know, Black lives truly matter. I grew up in a household where, you know, I was always told by my parents that I really mattered and I truly mattered in the world. But on May 25th, the world recognized that Black lives really matter. And I'm just thankful to my council colleagues, thankful to the administration, the law department for, you know, working on the weekend. They helped me get this through. And I want to just say thank you to everyone for, you know, believing that Black lives matter and voting on this. So every year on that day, we can actually remember that Black lives matter. This is going to be a remembrance that we can never forget. So every year we should do something very special to remind ourselves. And I'm going to urge the county. I know Freeholder Walker has already put this resolution together with the county. So I'm going to, you know, urge all counties, all cities around the state, all counties, and our state legislators to actually go ahead and do the same thing on a state level. And I'm going to actually urge the 1,600 Black Lives Matter to actually do the same thing on a federal level, so that it's not just a local thing. It's not something that we just do here in Jersey City, but we remember each and every year. The murder of George Floyd would not be it would not go without us remembering it all across the country and the globe. So I'm urging everyone, you know, in each city, state, and the federal government to, you know, follow suit and make May 25th not just a day to remember Black Lives Matter in Jersey City, but all around the country. So thank you for voting for this. I hope that we get the rest of these votes and we can do this 9-0. I vote aye for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Navarro.
Yeah, just on 10.41 and the Declaration of Black Lives Matters Day. Thank you to Councilman Robinson for putting this forward. I think this is, you know, we do a lot of resolutions that some would just describe as ceremonial, but this time and moment in time in our history here, this is more than just a ceremonial gesture. This is a declaration on our part as to what we stand for and what our values are here in Jersey City, and what our commitment is moving forward, and recognition of the past as well and the atrocities of the past. That being said, I wanted to just thank everyone who came out to speak, and to everyone who's been out there protesting in Jersey City and around the country, who are bravely going out there and letting it be known in the face of a pandemic, putting their own health at risk, and to declare that Black Lives Matter and that we need reform and change like never before, and have continued to go 15 days counting and straight at this point, and continuing to move forward. So I want to point out two things. First one was that I meant to speak on 10.19, and for those who are still in attendance, 10.19, we approved the CDBG HUD funding that comes to the city. It's millions and millions of dollars that go to housing, affordable housing, other programs for economic development and social service programs. I don't agree with everything that's been allocated there, but there's so much money at stake there that I did approve that. What you don't know is that there are literally millions of dollars that are still unallocated, that are not part of that current approval of that annual action plan. And so that's going to come back before the city council and determine where we spend these dollars and what our priorities are going to be. So when we talk about those priorities of reprioritizing and reimagining our city and investing in our communities, we have an opportunity there, particularly with COVID-19 and all of the challenges that people have paying their rent, paying their taxes, paying their mortgage, paying their utilities, opportunities there to address the unmet needs and desperate needs that Jersey City residents have. So ask you to stay attuned to that, and I will do my best to make sure that that information is out there publicly. The second thing I want to point out is people talked about the Civilian Complaint Review Board, that the Jersey City Anti-Violence Coalition and Jersey City Together and the ACLU are pushing that the state enact legislation so that we can get rid of this the argument that there's any legality, constitutionality with regard to establishing a Civilian Complaint Review Board with teeth, and to support those efforts to move the state legislation. The Anti-Violence Coalition, Jersey City Anti-Violence Coalition, led by Pam Johnson, and with her work with Frank Education Gilmore and former Ward B Councilman Chris Gadsden, are moving forward in organizing weekly protests on every Tuesday to continue to hold us, the politicians, accountable for delivering on our actions. And I urge you to also be a part of that and contribute to that movement as well, as you continue your advocacy as Solidarity Jersey City or whatever entity that you're affiliated with and working through, because we are at an inflection point here in our country, and we all need to do our part moving forward to make sure that we have a more fair and just Jersey City, state of New Jersey, and the country. So I vote aye and all, and Black Lives Matter.
Thank you. Councilperson Rivera.
I vote aye.
And Council President Waterman.
I want to thank Councilman Robinson for bringing forth this resolution with Black Lives Matter. It is a time in history. It really is. It is a movement, and we don't want to miss the opportunity to make change. I know one speaker said we have an opportunity to dream of what we would think a police department should be, but I challenge us even further. Racism is not just in the police department, it's in our education system, it's in entertainment system, it's in our law divisions. Racism is in every walk of life. It really is. So this is just a door open for us to face what is really ugly about this country. So let's don't sit back, but let's do what we can do to get rid of racism, because it's really all surrounding us all. George Floyd was the one who brought it to light. May he rest in peace. My prayers are with his family, and let's get this right, because the generation behind us need to see better. I vote aye.
Thank you. Okay, just to recap, items 10.37 through 10.41 are approved unanimously, 9-0.
Hey, Sean, before we have a motion to adjourn, I know we've had a long meeting, and I know that, I want to thank the speakers who came out to definitely speak their mind. I mean, their points are very valid, and we should be taking them very seriously. I just want to thank them all for coming out and speaking. And what I really want to do, because I know that sometimes it gets overlooked, I just want to thank the councilwoman from Ward A for really doing an outstanding job with the affordable housing that was over there in Bayfront, and also bringing the minority participation. I know she was flying around the country interviewing a lot of developers to find the minority developers that would work and fit. And I want to thank her. I want to thank her whole team. I know Councilwoman Prinzeri was over there working hard as well. But I just want to say to the Councilwoman, for Denise Ridley, sometimes things get overlooked in the shadows of what is going on in the world. But I just want to let you know that I really thank you for fighting a good fight and spending a lot of extra time making sure Bayfront is something that's going to be good for not just the city, but all of us. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you, Councilman Robinson.
I-
I really
I-
appreciate those kind words. And it's,
I
it's
completely
a
echo
win
that.
for all of us. It's a win for the city, and I thank, all the council members for their support. We still have a lot of work to do, but I believe that we're headed in the right direction.
And I'd like to echo that too. Denise, Mira, you guys really nailed it, and very proud of you guys. Very, very proud. With that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn at 9:52 p.m. by Councilperson Rivera, and I heard the first second by Councilperson Prinzary. On the motion to adjourn at 9:52 p.m. by acclamation, council members, please say aye.
Aye.
We are out of here at 9:52 p.m. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for watching. And please remember to abide by those safety rules and stay safe. Have a great night.